Welcome to the Country Hipster Podcast. I am Paul, the Country Hipster. To my far left is my brother Adam, the Country Emo Kid.
What's up, guys?
And to my immediate left is our special guest, my friend Nick Murphy.
How's it going?
Let's give it a for Nick. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks for coming.
Happy to be here.
Real quick, before we get into things, I have to point out that our intro music is none other than the Unholy Four from Charlottesville, Virginia, the song Dirty Knife. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Go check them out on Spotify and Instagram and Bandcamp, and I don't know where else their music is. So, but it's out there.
It's in the hearts of the youth.
Is it? I don't know if they're really the youth. I don't know that the Unholy Four really ever reached out to the youth. Maybe the like, because they're all friends of mine. We're all just around the same age. Maybe the adults trying to be youthful.
The disenfranchised youth.
Yes, did I ever tell you about when I played with them down in Virginia?
Who?
Oh wait, no, it wasn't the Unholy Four. Were they still? No, they weren't the Unholy Four. It was so Sean, the singer of the Unholy Four. His band before that was called Heavy Burner. So I actually didn't play that. Right? So we went down there. I contacted.
We don't talk about Heavy Burner. That's just the accident.
No, Heavy Burner was they were pretty good. They were a solid band. But so I had told them, I was like, dude, I want to come down. I want to play with you guys. I'm like, my band probably won't want to go, but like I want to do it. I just want to come down and play solo for you. And so it was like I was the opener doing solo, and then there was another band that was like on like a little mini tour or whatever. They weren't from Charlottesville. Heavy Burner, and then the last band, I don't remember what they were called, but they were like, it was like me doing like my like Irish punk type of thing.
Yeah.
And then three like heavy like Heavy Burner wasn't metal, they called them like stoner rock, but like it was very very metal-ish, but not, but like more like just like really hard rock. And it was me, and so like I get up and like I'm playing, I think I had like a half hour, 35-minute set, something like that, and I get up to play and playing a couple songs in, and people are just kind of like, okay, whatever. And then finally I'm just like, man, I'm gonna play this next song because I fucking like it, and it's kind of punk rock. And I go into Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now. And I saw it happening as I was playing. Everybody just starts coming to the stage because there was like, it was a big group, so everybody was like kind of scattered out. But like I was like, that was like my third or fourth song, and like everybody just comes in, and like I had the crowd like as soon as I got them, it was just like bang, and they were like, all right, we'll listen to the rest of what this guy is. And it was a lot of fun. It was really good. And but that was that's when I played with Sean's band down in Virginia. So Nick, welcome to the Ottsville Record Garage.
Happy to be here.
This is your second time.
This is my second time in the garage. First time on the pod. First time on any podcast. Worth mentioning. So you guys are popping the proverbial cherry tonight. So so I'm actually. I remember talking.
Doesn't happen so much. Age,
After tonight will be his first and his last time ever listening to the podcast.
No, I matter of fact, whenever it was that you mentioned this to me that you were going to be doing this, I kind of got excited because I was like, hey, that's cool, because I literally one of my biggest like problems, being working 60 hours a week, being a father, all that kind of stuff, and I'm very blessed. I have a wonderful wife who lets me have my time in my music room every night.
Your music room is fucking bad.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to still have that. But that being said, I get my time to myself to listen to my records and all that, but like I have nobody to talk records or music with. And like I have buddies who are huge music fans. We go to concerts like over the years, but like I could talk records and music all the time, and I just don't have that outlet. So when Paul pitched this to me, like that you guys are going to be doing this, I was like, that is awesome, and I will happily come on and do that. So this is great.
Well, I'm very happy that you're on here as well. I met Nick through another friend of ours who's also a vinyl enthusiast, and Nick has not only been a customer for years now, but he's also been my main supplier of used records. So I was talking to it was one of the early episodes. I was saying like how I have like probably like 20,000 records or so, and then I was like, and I just accumulated like another 500 or 600. Nick brought the 500 or 600.
I had at one time my at the biggest my collection ever was, and it wasn't very big. It was.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I said that. Indeed. It was. It was probably around 1,000 records all in. And I don't collect 45s. I have a very small crate of 45s that are near and dear to me for one reason or another, but that's it. I don't collect them. But as far as LPs go, the biggest my collection ever was probably around 1,000 records. And then I realized that it just wasn't sustainable. I didn't want to hoard records. I didn't sell them. Like
Yeah.
So I didn't want to get involved in that. So honestly, like over the last however many years, especially since my music room went from being twice the size it is now to what it is. So it's like, okay, I have to keep it at a manageable right now, probably 600 records.
Okay. Yeah.
So anytime I get records in, and also what I've done is because obviously over the years you go through phases, you get into different types of music and you want to collect different types of music. And for me, that's been jazz, believe it or not, for the last like 5 to 10 years. So like I dove headfirst into jazz. Never thought if you would have told 18-year-old Nick Murphy that I would be into jazz, I would have kicked your ass for even suggesting it. But then I
like that scene from Talladega Nights.
Yeah, 100%. It was like the idea of it. But then when I started realizing like, oh, like all the hip hop that I grew up on and everything like that was largely influenced by Blue Note jazz and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that being said, so like then you start calling the collection back and you start going, do I need every Billy Joel record? No,
exactly.
I don't. And I it's like I looked at them and I'm like, I don't listen to these.
Yeah.
I don't. When is the last time I came down to my music room and thought, I need some Billy Joel tonight? And it doesn't happen very often. So that kind of is the stuff that kind of leaves
to me every now and then.
It's funny. My girlfriend I can't remember who the hell sings it, but she sent me a song the other day. And she's like, oh, I really like this. And it's somebody covering Vienna by Billy Joel.
Oh, okay.
Great song.
So she's been on this weird, like, Billy Joel kick the past couple of days. And so it's so there's a time and a place for a Billy Joel kick.
And it's like some of those guys, it's like I'd rather have, I guess the greatest hits would be rather than owning all the records, you know?
And that's kind of, what a couple episodes ago was the best of Sam Cooke. Because,
that's one for sure. That's I told you, I texted you. Killer. I mean, you know what I mean? Like everything on there is just worth listening to, you know?
Yep. So I get that. It's like kind of like, and I talked about it in that episode, like one of the things that introduced me to bands like The Who was pretty much a best of The Who. And same thing with the Beach Boys was like best of the Beach Boys.
All my Who shit is in that bag over there.
Fuck, I love it. Nick brought me some records. I'm like, oh.
I was like, what can I, other than the stack that I had that came from somebody else, I was like, what can I get? I know I can get rid of stuff. Let me get rid of it. And I just like, I came across the Who stuff. I was like, I don't listen to it.
Here is the most difficult part, though, is when you bring me records, because like I'm just like,
keep,
oh god, do I sell this or do I keep it? It's like sometimes.
I mean, you must have most of it.
In my regular collection, I really don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like I've gotten so involved with like trying to list records on OttsvilleRecordGarage.com, where you can go and buy new, used vinyl, and we have some other stuff too.
But, a website that I check every day.
Okay,
It's just a habit. I check it every single day.
Appreciate that. But like I have so much I have to list there that I still haven't listed. That it's just like it actually gets difficult for me to like really like shop for myself. Do like this, when I see something, I'm like, oh, like the in that batch of like the 500-600 that you gave me was a Madonna True Blue.
Yep, right? It was in great shape too.
It was and
that was handed to me. That was not in my collection.
Yeah, and I love that's like probably my favorite Madonna album, and it's one of those albums. So like that's the thing. That's the other thing. Excuse me. When I'm doing the used vinyl, I have to like really carefully look at it as well. It's just like I didn't have that in my collection.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, do I want
fill that
this?
Void, right?
Or do I want to sell it? Because you have certain things that like I know are going to sell. That was one of those. As I was listening to, I'm like, God, please skip somewhere. Please skip somewhere.
You just want it to be a band, it didn't.
And it skipped.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, side two to set the second side first song, and it's like one skip, and it's like
not a repeater.
Not a repeater. It's
barely a skip pause. Like it's ruined. Can't sell it.
Can't sell it now. Which is what I tried to do when I'm
won't
like,
put this junk on my website.
Exactly. It's not even that. It's just the records that like, and we've talked about this. The records that like I know are sellers, and if they're at a certain volume, like I can't listen to everything. I don't have fucking time to do it. I don't have time to do it.
Collection is shrunk, yeah.
So I try to look at like, okay, what records still like do I want to listen to, and then I look up their value. If it's a certain value or higher, then I'm just going to listen to it regardless. That's an album that was like kind of in that like could be worth listenable, but I also want to listen to it. So listening to it, I heard the skip, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to keep it now. And the rest of the album's great, and it's just like, oh, that's awesome.
Funny enough, the first time that I gave you a bunch of records however long ago that was now. The funny thing was, I remember looking at that stack of records, and I almost didn't want to give them to you, only because like they were given to me by either a customer or somebody who was working in the house, whatever. But like, I'm like, this is garbage. Like he's not going to want this. I'm literally burdening this guy with these records. And I swear to God, the first thing, like I started kind of like, hey, so here's what I got. Hey, look, it's like, it is what it is, And he was like, oh, dude, I could sell this. Like I was oh, awesome. I was like, I don't feel so bad.
And that's the thing, because you look through it. And that's why sometimes like
Richard Simmons records and
because it's gold. And that's the thing that always gets me about like vinyl. People who aren't vinyl collectors, they go, "Oh my God, there's a lot of money in vinyl."
Yeah, I know. I tell people that all the time. I have an Elvis record. Yeah, good for you.
Yes, exactly. We've actually talked about that.
Yeah, it's
worth nothing.
Yeah, it's like great. You know what I mean? Cool. But like, if there's Elvis in a collection, like I look for like I always look for the stuff that I'm like, okay, I could turn this, I could turn this, I could turn this, I could probably do it pretty quickly, or even if it's not quickly, it'll eventually sell. And I try to price stuff like pretty reasonably at least, you know what I mean? I try to, especially like when I'm listing stuff on Discogs, because sometimes there are 65 copies of the same album, the same pressing that are there, and
you'll never sell that.
Yeah, you have some that are like $1.50 and some that are like $25, and I look at them like that's why we like when we talk about the suggested retail that comes up in our discount shop, it's kind of a bullshit number.
It really,
you know what I mean? It is, but it's again, it's the rules, the fucking rules, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But at any rate, like that's like the thing. I try to price it reasonably for the condition of the record. But so it is great. Like that is like one of the ways that we first got to know each other.
Speaking of the friend that we met through Drew, who has one of the most had one of the most epic.
Yeah, he sold me a bunch when he moved. A bunch of Res records.
But that said, there was a time when you probably got way more records from me than you even knew. Because I was dumping them on Drew.
Yep.
Just telling him, look, somebody just gave these to me. I don't want them. Take them. Yeah. And like I would go through them if there was anything I wanted to keep or anything. One of the nice things about getting handed a bunch of records, and again, most of the time when I get into these conversations with people and they're like, oh, and then people know you collect records. So I was like, oh, my grandmother has a bunch of records. I'm like, oh, awesome. Like I'll take them because I know Paul will take them. But like I'll look through like. I don't even want like the best Frank Sinatra records anymore. Like I have what I want in there, so like I know what's going to be in that. You know it every time you reach for a stack of records. If you're in, and I can't help it, I still go into the odd thrift store when I see it, but I know what's going to be in there. I'm flipping. It's this, and I could sit there with my eyes closed and tell you what's there, and it's like you still go because for me, honestly, I get so much joy from just flipping through records. It's so much fun.
The thing I like doing the most is like when I go into those situations would be a thrift shop or something like that. Is I like to go through and I like to see like what is the weirdest fucking thing there, because 9 out of 10 times you find the weirdest fucking thing there and you're like, oh shit, the value of this is a legitimate $15.
And if you're gonna spend a buck or
like,
two on it,
I'm gonna buy this, and you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's something really cool. Sometimes it's just weird bullshit.
Almost did it yesterday. It was I knew it was a newer record when I saw it, and it was Jesus, I can't now. I'm not going to remember his name, but
it's okay.
Wichita Lineman, help me out.
Wichita Lineman,
who did Wichita Lineman, country singer. Had dementia towards the end.
Was it Johnny Cash or
no?
Glenn Campbell?
Glenn
Campbell. Yes.
So Glenn Campbell, I come across this record, and it's on the cover it's old Glenn Campbell, and I'm like, okay, so this is the last record that he put out.
Yeah.
So I flip it over into 2012 or 15 or whatever it was. I'm like, oh, this is a new record. It was $2.99. I took it out. It was clean. Looked it up real quick. I was like, okay, it sells for like $8 to $15 somewhere in that range. I'm like, I could grab it. I'm like, it would have ended up in that bag, and I'm sure you would have sold it. But
it's all good.
Yeah, but I have never, as long as I've been looking at thrift stores specific, like Goodwill, I've never ever come across that gem or like that. Very few times have I found gold in
gems
thrift
I've
stores.
found. There's usually someone's listed on Craigslist. Like I have all these records and I'm just trying to
get something out of there.
And then you run out with something out of there. So I've had a couple of those, but like you go into a thrift store and like shit is just like it's just like
and they don't take care of it there. It's just half of the sleeves are missing, and it's just the loose records that are just filthy and unplayable.
What are you drinking there, Adam?
Well, actually, I finished it. But I was drinking. Paul and I had the mango Neshaminy Creek a couple episodes ago. I don't remember what episode it was, but this is the Rita's the Rita's Lemon, and Paul just handed me. Actually, I'm going to let Paul talk about it because he's currently drinking one. The Rita's Lemon is good, but
yeah. See, I thought
it's good. It's not as good as the mango, but it's still enjoyable.
The mango is good. I kind of feel like the lemon is like, if you ever wanted to drink lemon pledge.
I mean, I drank Pine Sol once by mistake. So
maybe that's what I'm thinking. But like,
it does. It is
does
a very.
Does it taste like a sour or lambic like that or
no? It's a very strong, very obvious artificial lemon flavor,
and it's not
sense.
A sweet lemon. It's really not. It's very. It's like almost like you're just like eating like a lemon zest and like that. So, but it's not bad. I mean, I still love the Chamonix Creek stuff because I got the. Showtime at Sundown, which is a retro American lager, which is a collaboration they had with the.
What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. It's good, is what it is.
It's like we were talking about with genres of metal. It's just like it's retro now. Fuck you. An American lager.
What's kind of cool about this is that they did this as a collaboration with the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. If you didn't know, there are drive-in theaters still out there in America today. And what I thought was actually cool is I have actually sent movies to this theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've sent at least 2 movies
to the drive-in.
To the drive-in
Nice.
for them to screen because I was in the movie business for about 5 years, and I know for a fact I've sent them 3 movies actually that I know of. I know I've sent them Night of the Living Dead, John Carpenter's Halloween, as well as Kevin Smith's Yoga Hosers. I know that this theater showed all. I probably sent them more.
We've actually been looking for a drive-in close by to take the girls to. We knew that they would get a kick out of it.
There's this one in Pennsylvania. I know there's this one.
How far is this one?
I don't recall where exactly it is, but there's this one. There is Becky's Drive-In, which is up by Allentown.
Okay.
And there's another one called Swinklers or something. Swikillers, something. I forget. It's an SW something or other, but yeah.
The last one that was around, I believe it was either the one that was in Philly, like down off of Bridge Street somewhere.
Okay.
Or there was one. It was either the one out. There was one in Feasterville as well.
Yes.
One of those two became a porno theater, like at the end of its life cycle and before it closed. Drive-in porno. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So. That was
right.
That secondhand information. I think it was closed down.
Oh,
before.
sure,
Yeah.
Nick,
I think I was
information.
Barely walking.
Yeah, I know. No, there's
the Mahoning Drive-In Theater is currently an hour and 20 minutes from where we're sitting right now. So
okay, that's a weekend. Okay.
Yeah. But no, they're like I said, the Becky's Drive-In is up in Allentown, and I forget where the other one is. Which I've been to Becky's Drive-In. I haven't been to the other two. And they're cool experiences.
Yeah, of course.
I love a drive-in. Plus, like the cool thing about a drive-in is like, you generally you're paying for one movie and you're getting 2.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. So that's a good beer. And what are you drinking there, Nick?
I am drinking what I assume the gentlemen who built this house were drinking while they were building it, Genesee beer. So brewed for generations.
There you go. We like it. Oh, so just a quick update. We kind of got a little abrupt interruption at the end of last week's episode. Winnie Cooper is not lost. She was.
I honestly, I completely forgot, and when I was listening to the episode, you can't hear Katie.
Oh yeah.
I just hear you go, "We don't have a Winnie." No.
Yeah, so she was behind the couch. Apparently, Katie didn't see her behind the couch.
Thought she might have gotten out.
I guess, which is kind of like okay, like.
Well, I remember the one at your barbecue. I see. I'm sitting over on Paul's lawn over here by the fire pit, and I see Katie come around the corner of the house with this panic look on her face. And I've had Winnie Cooper sitting on my lap for 15 minutes at this point. She's like, "Where's Winnie? Where's Winnie?" I'm like, "It's fine. I'm just sitting there. I'm scratching her chin."
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah.
So 2 quick things. So it's funny, Winnie Cooper, for the reference. But I used to work with a guy named Winnie. I guess his name was Winfred, family name or something. But his last name was Arnold.
Nice. Oh wow!
So had they got married,
hey,
there you go. She would have been Winnie Arnold.
That's the love child.
That's crazy. I will say that at my barbecue is if Councilman Norm was still around, Councilman Norm,
it's a Councilman Norm,
Councilman Norm, that there would have been several children bitten.
Mm-hmm. I got the fucking scar to prove it.
Yeah, you didn't. Councilman Norm was a good dog, but when Councilman Norm had enough of you, he let you know.
Oh, I've said before, I don't blame. I was fucking with that dog. That dog was 90% asleep, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a human. I'm gonna sit on the couch," and it was like, "Fuck, you are."
So today, literally however many hours ago, I'm at work, and there was a problem. I work for I'll say a phone company.
Okay.
We won't mention the name, but I work for a big phone company. So
Atlantic.
There was a yeah, that's fair. So there was a cut in a fiber line that was affecting multiple customers on a big road, and it was something that was definitely not getting fixed today. So we were just kind of going, once we found out what the problem was, going to the customer's houses, let them know, hey, somebody will be out first thing tomorrow to get working on this, yada yada. I go to this house, I knock on the door, and there in the window is a horse. Well, not a horse. It was a cane corso. And it is staring daggers at me and barking, a bark that I can feel in my chest through the window. So I'm like, cool. And I see this lady in a walker coming towards the door. So she opens the door and is now trying to play goalie with her giant dog. I have no idea what this dog's intentions are. Could be the sweetest dog in the world.
Yeah.
Could be, the end for me. So next thing you know, now we are on a bend of this somewhat busy road, and it's now raining, and the dog gets out, wants nothing to do with me, but
good.
Just goes, and she's not chasing it. So now it's become my responsibility to go wrangle this giant dog. Now I have to run out into the road and throw my hands up like there's a car coming, stop, So then I finally the dog's looking at me. I'm like, come on, name? Can I get a name here? Right. So I get the dog's name and I'm yelling come on. Do you want a treat? Nothing. And, so we finally convinced this dog to get out of the road and finally get it back into the house. And I'm like, and it was just all right, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm out of here. That's enough fun for today.
Out. I'll see you tomorrow.
So that's my lost dog story from today.
Fun. But these are all good stories. Yeah. This is all good time. We're going to get into
Sorry, Tom. Sorry.
Fuck you. Fuck that. I'm not, you know what? I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry, Tom. We gave you a short intro last time, so you can just always jump ahead 25 minutes in the podcast to see if we stop talking bullshit. But we are here to talk about an album that was Adam's pick from last week. It is, and I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, it is brand new Deja
Entendu, which is apparently French for already heard.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the audible version of Deja Vu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So, stuff about the album. Recorded in February of 2003. Released on June 17th of 2003. So we are currently recording on July 9th. So we just passed the 20-year anniversary of this album. Recorded at Reflection Sound Studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. Put out on Triple Crown and Razor and Tie. And
funny thing about Razor and Tie, you know why I called that?
No. Because
the person who started the label wanted a job where he never had to shave and never had to wear a tie.
There you go.
That's why I call it Razor and Tie.
Record was produced by, apologies if I'm pronouncing the last name wrong, but Steven Hagler. Known for producing alternative grunge and hardcore stuff. Produced Sunburn by Fuel. Stuff that I recognize. Sunburn by Fuel, As Good as Dead by Local H. Transitional Speedway League by Clutch.
He did a Quicksand record as well.
Yes, he did Slip.
He did Slip
by Quicksand,
which is, in my opinion, Quicksand's best album. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another producer credited on is Mike Sapone. Producer, composer, audio engineer, mixer. Produced bands such as Brand New, Take It Back Sunday, Front Bottoms, Group Love, Sincere Engineer, who I've heard a little bit of Sincere Engineer. They've been getting, I feel like, a little bit of noise lately. Oso, who Paul and I saw open for Gaslight Anthem.
Oh, recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently produced a Public Enemy album.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a nice credit to have.
Yeah.
On your
Snoop,
resume.
were you on that album?
Snoop
was not on that album.
Let's see. Critically, the album was praised. Absolute Punk gave it a 99%. Who was I seeing? Sputnik Music gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Where was I just reading? Rolling Stone said, I gotta scroll down further on my notes a little bit to another section. Rolling Stones placed it on... I usually use this word processor that was on my computer, and I've been recently using Google Document. and
Google Docs.
everything is this. Everything is this.
not
I'm also
like
copying.
letterform.
I'm also copying and
stop
pasting
doing
from
that.
Wikipedia.
Well, you're also
But,
probably copying and pasting wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
you gotta use the control keys, man.
that's why I got the
Yeah,
wireless.
well, that's
mouse.
why it looks like that.
Rolling Stone placed the album at number 19 in their list of 40 greatest emo albums of all time. Brand New's first album, Your Favorite Weapon, was placed at number 29 on that list.
Wow, okay.
Excuse me. Sputnik listed number 25 on their top 100 albums of the 2000s. This Brand New's third album, The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me, was also on that list at number 20. Wow. The album
Sounds like a horrible list.
Rock Sounds 101 modern classic listed it at 21. Rock Sound later wrote yada 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 bullshit. And there was one more that I was gonna read, but I can't. Oh, NME listed the album as one of 20 emo albums that have stood the time. It's basically 20 albums emo albums that stood the test of time. So it's one of, in my opinion, probably one of the better emo albums that were made in that era. Paul's looking at me like I fucking hate you for making me listen to this album.
I haven't said a word.
I knew putting this on the thing. There's, like I said, there are certain albums where I knew Paul was gonna hate me putting them on the thing. Taking Back Sunday being one of them. Brand New, Deja, Entendu being another one of them. I grew up with this album. I discovered this album. Actually, I discovered this album before I discovered Your Favorite Weapon by Brand New. And listening to the two album, going from Your Favorite Weapon to Deja Entendu, that was one thing that the album got a lot of praise for, was that everyone was talking about how if you listen to Your Favorite Weapon, it's a pop punk album.
Yep.
And then you go to this and it's a very more mature sounding, everything's in E flat tuning, and it's darker and more mysterious and more mature than its predecessor. I say they consider this this album was considered Brand New's breakout album.
Okay.
So I have a quick question, because as much as I love this album, remember it coming out, I was familiar with Your Favorite Weapon first. So as a genre goes, and I do kind of I do and I don't have time for a lot of these subgenre nonsense. Like,
right.
I think of this, when I think of this, I guess I just never thought of it. I never thought of emo as such a bit like a broad, you know what I mean? I just think pop punk, like when I think, but I also probably put a lot of things, like I think Blink, I think, a lot of Dashboard, all that kind of stuff, which is, I get it. Like I guess the emo stuff is it's just that, it's emo, you know what I mean? So I guess it pretty much defines itself.
And on the topic of categorizing as pop punk, Loudwire listed it as number 43 on its 50 greatest pop punk songs of all time.
As pop
this
punk.
album.
See, so I definitely would not call this album pop punk, like by any means, like whatsoever. I would
What's
not
the
call
first? What would be the first band or record that comes to your mind when you think pop punk?
Oh, Green Day, Dookie.
Okay, all right,
Green Day,
fair
Dookie.
enough.
Blink 182.
Okay.
Fuck, I can't even think of like other ones, and just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But like that would be like, you know what I
Understood.
mean? Like what I would think is like pop punk. I never heard the first album, so I couldn't tell you.
And certainly the first album is more in that vein for sure. And like I said, I really enjoyed the first record. And I was familiar with that first, but
which I there is pop punk that I like. I mean, I have been vocal about not liking Blink 182. Just don't think their songs are that good, and the band.
I think their music is fun for me, as far as
it can be. No, and which is one of the things I like about pop punk, is that pop punk is fun. Yeah, it is. It's just kind of like catchy.
You're walking on thin ice. With this record saying the band members are assholes, because this guy doesn't have the squeaky clean.
I was saying to Paul that this album is
just to verify. The only reason I say that the Blink members are assholes is because I met them.
Oh, nice. Assholes. Okay. Yeah. I do my best to separate musicians and bands from the music, because I think it's important.
No, this is an actual interaction with them. They're three dickheads. Fair enough. Anyway, but go on.
So I was saying to Paul that this album is a little bit on the problematic side now, because the lead singer Jesse Lacey in 2017 was accused of sexual misconduct that had taken place 15 years prior to the accusation. So He was born in 78. The accusations, he was in his early 20s when they took place. The two girls that made the allegations against him were both minors at the time, which you just kind of touched on a little bit. Do you guys think it's wrong to separate an artist's transgressions from their music?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends on what. Like I have a tough time with Chuck Berry stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I do. What I mean? Just because of some of the stuff that has come out that he's done. Honestly, as much as I love The Who, I kind of have a tough time with that because they found a bunch of stuff on Pete Townsend. Yep. Mm-hmm. Because of the outcome of that, whether that was a payoff or not, it's just kind of like, all right, it's maybe it was research, but. I really think it depends on the situation.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that because there's so many obvious examples. Michael Jackson, obviously wrote and had some of the greatest records that were ever sold. You know, this guy, and here's the thing: like looking back into that for coming here, like I was kind of like poking around with that because I remember hearing about the accusations and things like that. One of the more damning things was I think he just came right out and apologized. So there was no denying.
He did, yeah. He apologized formally on the band's Facebook, and then if I remember correctly, I was reading earlier that basically he said in his apology was basically saying that during this time period he was basically like an undiagnosed sex addict,
right,
and
right,
had
right.
since in between the time of when the events happened and when the allegations came out, he had sought help for that. But I was it reminds me of I can't remember what it was, some stand-up thing that I saw. It was Pete Davidson, and he was talking about how he doesn't think that we should completely forget in something like music that art that an artist has done because of something they've done. He's like, he was saying how basically like if you listen to a song by an artist who has done something wrong in their lives, you have to, every time you listen to one of their songs, you have to donate $1 to whatever charity or group of people where he is, where that person has transgressed against. And he's like, the fucking battered women's shelters would have made like $500 off me just listening to the Ignition remix.
How about the royalties going? You know what I mean? How about that? But you have, like I said, this guy again. If you read it, he was 20. The girls were like 15 or 16 years old. But I think the more troubling thing there is like obviously like we all know that that's wrong. But then you go back, it's like it's different than like Pete Townsend. It's different than Michael Jackson because you're talking about young children. Like that's that to me that's far more unforgivable. You know what I mean? And then also the worst part about this guy Jesse Lacey was like apparently like he was really like he was fucking with these girls. Like he was like exploiting them like you know, to get what he wanted, which is, you know what I mean? Again, it wasn't just like he wasn't just like, oh, saw a girl that he thought was cute, found out that she was 16 and decided to pursue it anyway. Like he was really kind of
when I remember originally hearing about it, I remember the term grooming being thrown around a lot, discussing it. So yeah, it reminded me. I was thinking about it on the way up because I was thinking I'm gonna bring up this conversation with you guys. I remember a while back I was at a buddy of mine's house and we were playing. I brought Guitar Hero or Guitar Hero 2 or one of them over to his house, and we were playing it. And I was scrolling through the songs on Guitar Hero, and one of the songs that was featured was "Killing in the Name of" by Rage Against the Machine. And I stopped on it, and my friend's dad not yelled at me, but sternly told me not to play that in his house.
And
I get it. So I kind of try to, the way I try to look at things is that I separate things. I think more realistically than some people do. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. But if you're an asshole that wrote a good song, that good song is still a good song.
I agree with you.
Do I agree with Rage Against the Machine's politics? No, but Bulls on Parade is a good fucking song. Do I agree with what he did? No, but I fucking love this album.
Okay. But if you take music as a whole, like most of the bands like that you listen to, you're probably not going to agree with. Like I am a massive Pearl Jam fan. I've seen them countless times. whatever Eddie wants to say on stage, whatever. That's his stage. He could say what he wants as long as he's playing the tunes. Like, I don't care.
Yep.
And that's the other thing where it's like, I'm a massive Warren Zevon fan. Warren Zevon was not a good person in life. Like, he beat up his woman, all that kind of stuff. Drug abuser, this and that. But again, he was one of the greatest American songwriters to ever walk the stage.
And I mean, you look into things such as and I don't want to go too far deep down this rabbit hole, but I mean, you look at Elvis Presley and Priscilla Presley. You look at Jerry Lee Lewis, and we talked about that.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean. Or there's, I mean, even recently they're on their farewell tour, Aerosmith, and the basically 60-year-old girl that he adopted to take on tour. You know what I mean? So there's definitely a lot of, like, if we really go down the rabbit hole, there's you can find a bunch of shit that's like
it's
not.
Like, you want to be famous, somebody's going to find. Somebody's going to find whatever it is that you did. Somebody's going to find out about it.
And it doesn't excuse anything. If someone's a jerk, someone's a jerk. So
100%.
Yeah.
But I can separate that, and I can appreciate a good song or a good record for what it is. And this is a great record.
So on the whole, like I said, I grew up with this record, discovered this for a while. We talked about it on the Taking Back Sunday episode with Zach. For a while, I considered, it was depending on what day it was, Taking Back Sundays, Tell All Your Friends, and Deja and Entendu were up in the air for my number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
Listening to it, I don't know if I still consider this my number in that contendership. I talked about on Gaslight, I consider 59 Sound my current favorite album. I don't know if I consider this a number 2. I do really love this album. I would definitely consider it. I mean, obviously, I consider it in 25 of my collection. Yeah. Would probably consider it at least top 10, probably top 5. But I don't know if it's number 2.
Right.
But I do. This album does hold a special place in my heart.
Okay.
So I've never, like, I wasn't, even back then, I wasn't like a huge emo or even pop punk fan. Like, I wasn't all in on the genre. I did have my favorites, and I did. Yeah. The music was great. Actually. So this record, the first record came out in 01, I think, was Your Favorite Weapon, if I'm not mistaken. This was 03. So this record came out my summer going into senior year of high school.
Fuck you.
And so that being said, their first record, I remember the first song I heard off of their first record was Soko Amaretto Line was the first song I was ever familiar with.
Wait, I just clicked on it and then it did something weird. October of 01.
Okay, so 01
was Your Favorite Weapon.
Right. So I was definitely familiar with this. I was familiar with a couple of songs off of this. It was a Jude Law and the Semester Abroad, stuff like that.
Jude Law and the Semester Abroad was the first thing I heard.
And Soko Amaretto Line was definitely the first song that I heard. But I wasn't. This was their first record that I was familiar with the record. And the first song I had heard off of the record was because of NHL 2004. Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows was on the NHL 2004 soundtrack.
It's funny
and
that you say that.
Sticks with me to this day.
I wasn't a big fan of the EA Sports games.
Okay.
I kind of found them really boring.
Sure.
I was more of in the ilk of like the NFL Blitz and the NHL Hits.
Yeah, the fun one. Like, the 3-on-3 stuff. Yeah,
the 3-on-3. You have a turbo button, that kind of shit. But I do remember
Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey.
Yeah, what was the game? Because I had it, and I don't know if it was like a Blitz 2 or if it was something similar to Blitz. But basically, you could create an athlete and give them steroids to bulk them up.
Oh, and I don't know what that one was.
What was even better was that Lawrence Taylor's likeness and like actual likeness, like he signed on for it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't he?
Make money was on this game, and I cannot. Jack will remember what it was, but I don't know if it was a Blitz or if it was a Blitz 2 or something like that. But that was the whole thing, was to fucking juice up these players, get them as fucking big as you can, and then like fucking kill somebody. So I think it might have been a Blitz 2. Actually, I'm gonna text him.
And it's funny too,
might
because
have to make him come in.
I did like the EA. Like, okay, I was never a huge video. Like, obviously grew up with video games and all that. But like after NES and Sega and all that, it was like all me and my brothers wanted was the new hockey game that was coming out. We all of them. So I had every one of them that was ever made. So, but the funny thing was, after a while, you start playing even the straight ahead EA games like they're like, you turn the rule like it's prison rules. I can vividly remember on a TV this big in my basement, me and my older brother playing NHL '93 on Sega Genesis, and we would keep a notepad right there.
Yeah.
Write down the numbers on the opposite team, the guys who we wanted to just go just crush.
What's it? Was it NHL '93 in the movie
Slapshot? Not Slapshot, as Swingers.
Swingers. Yeah, we're gonna make Gretzky bleed.
And then the year after that, they took the bleeding out. They took all the fun stuff out. You couldn't fight anymore. You couldn't make him bleed anymore. Yeah, look at little Gretzky. His little legs are kicking. Yeah.
That's another
great scene.
So Swingers is another one of those fucking Big Lebowski movies.
Yeah,
one of those
100%.
movies. Someone's like, you got to see this. You'll love this movie. I've never seen it. And,
it is.
And after seeing the Big Lebowski, I was just like,
Really?
That's how I got. Well, yeah.
It's a popcorn movie.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. It wasn't like I mean, so many people are like, you will love the Big Lebowski. That's how I kind of feel like Swingers.
It's a bit avant-garde. The Big Lebowski, I think. And that being said, I think Swingers is a great movie. If you're gonna go out of your way to watch Swingers, watch Made after Swingers or before.
Okay.
I think Made is a better. It's Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau again.
Oh, nice.
Similar movie, but I think Made is far better, far funnier than.
Do you need another?
Please and thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Any particular?
Whatever you got.
There you go. You can try one of those.
Very good.
I was just I don't know, it just made me remember this. I've always joked about that. I have two regrets in my life, and they both involve buying very stupid things. One of them was when I was down the shore once. I saw a T-shirt that said Taylor Swift or Die, and I didn't buy it. I regret it.
Worth a fortune.
I regret it every day. And then one time I was at a local to the Oswald Record Garage. I was at Quakertown Farmers Market, and there was an oil painting of circa 1980s Hulk Hogan with like the sweatband and fucking everything.
That would look amazing in
and a nice frame and shit too. Like,
glorious.
and I didn't fucking buy it. But a third regret I have in my life is Zach. I grew up right around the corner from a Tower Records.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Used to go in that Tower Records to buy tickets.
Yeah.
I remember lining up out back of it.
Yep.
But a brand new played an acoustic set in this Tower Records.
Shut the fuck up, really? Welsh in the Boulevard?
Welsh in the Boulevard, Tower Records.
Really?
They played an acoustic set at this Tower Records 2 weeks before I really got into brand new.
For this record?
It may have been
for the release of
it
this
may
one?
have been for the release of this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
So I remember Zach, our
It was
brothers.
like Rex Manning Day.
Yeah, it was Rex
Welsh
Manning
on the
Day at
Boulevard.
Tower Records.
Did the singer bang a 15-year-old girl in the
He
bathroom?
did, yeah. But it was funny because like if Zach tells you the story, he went to him and the girl that he was dating at the time went to the record store to see this show, and she wasn't feeling it, so like they left like maybe halfway through it. Wow. And like in retrospect,
Holy
I'm like,
smokes.
dude, I'm like, I don't think you should hit a woman, but you should have hit her.
Yeah, or at least said, I'll be right out. I'm just going to hit the head real quick and just let her walk out and just stay for the rest
And
of
I
the
remember
show.
him saying, hey, do you want to come around the corner to see this? And I'm like, nah, I don't really know who they are. And I fucking regret it.
I have a similar regret story about a different band, but
What band?
the Philly band, the War on Drugs. They've gained a lot of popularity recently, but it was either their first tour, their second tour for their, I think it was their second record that came out. And one of my best friends who I've seen 1,000 concerts with, he's the kind of guy where it's like, if he asks me like, hey, do you want to go see this show? And I don't know who they are, I'm like, yep, sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go. That is literally the only one that I can think of that I said no to, and I can't remember why I couldn't go. But I've seen them 100 times since, and I regret not seeing them on that tour. But nevertheless,
I will tell you the one show that I do have, and even though I fucking don't like Radiohead, I don't.
I love Radiohead.
Oh, I fucking hate Radiohead.
I know a lot of people that hate Radiohead.
I don't.
Too whiny for you?
No, I just don't like a lot of their songs. You know what I mean? Like there's certain songs I do like.
You have
I
to
dig.
appreciate the musicianship. Like they're incredible musicians.
So yeah, no, I do appreciate the musicianship. I just never got into Radiohead, but I could have actually gone to see Radiohead at the TLA.
Nice.
And it was on like their first U.S. tour. It was the one it was a Pueblo Honey is their first album or something like that. Yeah, and it had like Creep and all that kind of shit. And that was the thing. I was like, oh, the Creep band, yeah. But and in retrospect, because I do like the experience of things. I like to to be like, okay, cool. No, I saw this, I experienced it, I was there. Whether or not it was just like, gonna be like, but so that like in retrospect is one of those like the same thing. And we talked about it before, where I mentioned like I had an opportunity to see Nirvana at the Armory in Philly, and I was just like, fuck Nirvana.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. So
not trying to throw shade at you, Paul, but you know, it's kind of a little bittersweet. I'm sitting next to you here because you can basically we could sit here and talk about all of my favorite bands who you are old enough to have been able to see at all the little theaters in Philly, and I was still fucking running around shitting my pants. So yeah.
Well, it's funny too because like Sean from the Unholy Four does our theme song called "Dirty Knife." He like we'll talk about music and I'll be like, man, do you even like rock and roll? Like what the fuck? like we'll talk about the
seeing this person. And that person,
like the bands that like he loves and I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Or, like, but you know what I mean? It's like a lot of like popular shit that like you know, people like a lot of people like it. I'm just like, this doesn't do it.
This
is
really, you know? I mean, we could sit there and we all have bands that we love who we know that like. Again, I mentioned I'm a Pearl Jam fan. I know plenty of people who hate Pearl Jam for one reason or another. No. Fine, I don't. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't actively hate them.
But
I just don't.
You're not into it.
It's just not. I just don't
but,
get it.
Like, and this may sound corny, whatever, but I stand by this principle. Like, I try not to trash like any band, and honestly, because like you talk about Nickelback and this and that and the third thing, but the truth of the matter is like because of my love for music, like Nickelback is somebody's favorite band in the whole world, and they do for that person what like you know, but like they, you know, any number of bands do for me.
That might be a person who I probably don't want to hang out with.
No, right, exactly, exactly. But as far as the music goes, it's like whatever. I don't like it. You leave it.
So speaking of Nickelback, I did this to Zach, our brother Zach, friend of the podcast, Zach, who's also the co-host of the Summer Movie Club. Which go check out Summer Movie Club.
This is your other brother?
This is our brother.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Zach is the oldest. He's the one who passed out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we have very similar family dynamics. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so this was when, you know, before phones were locked with passwords and fucking facial recognition and all this kind of stuff. So I was always that dude who would go around if someone left their phone, I'd go onto their Facebook and post something or, you know, text someone who, you know, something inappropriate who you know you shouldn't be texting. Yeah. You know, that would be me. So we're somewhere, I don't know where we were, but he left his phone down. I picked it up. Go on and I put it back down and he sees me as I put it back down. He's like, what the fuck you do? I'm like, nothing, man, I didn't do anything. And he picks it up and looks at it. He's like, that's good. I went on his Facebook and I liked Nickelback.
Nice. Subtle but poignant. Yeah.
And he was just like, all right. And I think he actually left it like to his credit.
I'll take it.
He was just like,
that's amazing.
All right, that's pretty good.
That's
fucking awesome.
That is good stuff.
Yes. So you guys like this album?
Yeah,
good.
Very much so.
All right, very nice, cool.
So I said to Paul last week, I think if we were doing your favorite weapon, ooh, thank you. Mm-hmm. If we were doing your favorite weapon, which I also have, I think 100% Paul would not like your favorite weapon. With this, I felt like he was not going to like it, but there was a very slim chance
that he'd find a song or two
that he would find something to latch onto. I'm assuming that's not the case.
Are we going to the box of Michael yet?
No.
All right. So my overall feeling on this record is
Okay.
Yeah. So Deja and Entendu is French for already heard, and that is absolutely fucking accurate about this album. Like I've heard this album a million times, by everybody else who's done this album.
Yeah.
So I'm actually glad that we were able to hit 5 records pretty early on in our season 1 here. You know,
what episode is
we're
this?
We're up to episode 15. Okay. So actually a third of the episodes, which is pretty crazy. But I am actually glad that we were able to hit this album, Taking Back Sunday, Say Anything, and The Wonder Years, all within a relatively short period of time, because it made me realize something about the early 2000s emo genre in general. So let me just say this. If you put a playlist together of all of those bands, Brand New, Take Back Sunday, Say Anything, Wonder Years, there was another one. Oh, yeah. Like, not that it's on our list, but like My Chemical Romance, you throw them in there.
No.
A couple of the other bands that you mentioned that were you know, but anyway, if you put a playlist together of all those bands, right, just like random songs, and you had someone sit down who's never heard of any of those bands, but is like open-minded to music, they would think it's all the same fucking band.
I mean, it's very much the same genre.
Well, the reason being, and the thing is, and that's the thing, like this, see, like listening to all these albums so soon together, actually brought me at peace to early 2000s emo.
Okay.
Because I realized it's not necessarily that these albums are.
It just sounds like early 2000s emo has been like keeping you up at night, and like you're waking up in a cold sweat.
No, but it's like everything I heard, I'm like, oh, fuck this, But it's a case, and this happens throughout music, like history of popular music. It is a case of genre copycat syndrome, is what I call it. Okay, so you will have, and this is the thing that I'm getting to. I don't know who the bands would be, and I have theories. So like, right, so you go with. And like I said, it's throughout history. Like you go back to like the big band era. You had Benny Goodman and you had Glenn Miller, and then no one would know about Tommy Dorsey unless Frank Sinatra was singing for him. But that's the thing. Then there's a million other big band people
and
out
big
there.
Band music.
You had the Beatles came out, and the Beatles were like the Beatles, and then you have a bunch of bands that tried to be the Beatles. You go into the 80s, and you have like that. Pop of like Depeche Mode and New Order and a bunch of other fucking electronic pop bands that nobody knows anything about. More specifically, 90s alt. 90s alt, I think, is the fucking the worst case of copycat syndrome in music, or genre copycat syndrome in music, because you had the Goo Goo Dolls, the Gin Blossoms, Matchbox 20, Third Eye Blind, and you for years I couldn't tell the difference between the Goo Goo Dolls and the Gin Blossoms, and that's an issue. Like I think it's honestly an issue, because like writing songs, writing good songs and music and something that stands out is really fucking difficult to do. That's why, even though I don't like the Beatles, even though I don't like Nirvana, I can appreciate what they did for music.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You even look in the grunge, you have Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and a bunch of other bands that wanted to be Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden.
But I have to interject there, because I truly believe, like, just that example right there, 3 bands that I love, Nirvana, Soundgarden, and Pearl Jam, very easily discernible between the.
But that's my point. That's my point.
3 of them,
so like, those are the 3. You have Nirvana, who does.
But then, okay, so you're saying that everybody thereafter was trying to copy one of those 3. Okay,
exactly.
Understood.
And that's my point. You have Nirvana, you have Pearl Jam, you have Soundgarden. All 3 very distinct bands in the same genre, and then you have all the other bands who are trying to be those bands. So that kind of led me to the thing, like, who are the bands that these bands are trying to be? Because the bands that I would go back to, like, think like, okay, like the early 2000 emo, what did that come from? Did it come from Sunny Day Real Estate, Fugazi, Rites of Spring, Heat Miser? The problem is, though, these bands that we're talking about, such as like Brand New, Taking Back Sunday, Say Anything, Wonder Years, My Chemical Romance, all that shit, none of them sound like fucking Sunny Day Real Estate, Fugazi, Rites of Spring, or Heat Miser.
But to be fair, it all had to start, right? So, just for instance, you mentioned Chuck Berry earlier, but Chuck Berry, like the Beach Boys, like the Rolling Stones, like everybody stole all of Chuck Berry's licks.
Yes,
everybody stole all of Chuck Berry's guitar licks. So, yeah, it's derivative, but then they took it and did something with it, right? But I think what you're saying is, like, there is this sound that we're hearing from all these emo bands. It's not derivative, seemingly, of anything.
It's like they're cover bands of each other's music.
Right. So and what was the source? And
exactly.
I couldn't tell you, because honestly, even back then, although again I love this record and I can name probably 3 or 4 other emo records that I really like, but I was not listening to this music back then.
Yep.
These were bands and records that kind of snuck in on it, because I was listening to, back then I was all in on, you know, Pink Floyd and Zeppelin and classic rock and even reggae, very, very much so back then. But like I said, this stuff was just, when I heard this record, when I heard, you know, some of their first records, like, this is good stuff, you know?
And that's the thing, like, so like, I couldn't, until, like, listening to, like, specifically this album, I would not have known a Brand New song if it smacked me in my face. To the point where I know the song, I will play my, you know, whatever, blah, 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 beneath the spin.
Song titles are too long, by the way. We'll get to that. But
I didn't know that was Brand New. I knew that song. I knew the song was around. I heard the song. I actually liked the song enough that I'm actually thinking of putting it into my solo music repertoire, because I think it would actually go off. But like, I didn't know that was Brand New, right? Yeah. The other one was, and this I was like, when I was listening to it, I actually looked it up. I'm like, is this a cover? The Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows. I swear to God, until this week, I thought that was My Chemical Romance.
That's a great song. Though.
Not even fucking kidding. Like, I thought it was My Chemical Romance.
So
and that's,
something important to note. How old are you, man?
32.
Okay, so I am 37. All right, so relatively speaking, we're much closer in age.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Grandpa over here. But that being said, that said, so you have to understand, too, this genre of music was the voice of the angsty teenage years of the people that grew up with it.
Yeah.
So there's something to that. There absolutely is.
Absolutely.
Because if you listen to the lyrics, it's just a guy crying about a girl, whereas back in the day it would have been fuck brought him on to the next one. Like,
but that's the thing. It's a bunch of guys crying about the same girl.
Right. I understand
when
where
you look at the
from.
other bands, like the bands that were my angsty late teens, early 20s that I mentioned, Sunny Day Real Estate, Fugazi, Right to Spring, Heat Miser, right? So those guys were doing the same thing.
They were doing it in a much more punk rock way. They were doing it in a much more...
Not really. Not Sunny Day Real Estate, not Heat Miser. Right to Spring was probably the original emo band.
Right.
To be considered. Fugazi was a little more punk,
hard,
on the punk rock,
yeah.
Indie rock type of tip. But like those bands were there. Braid was there. Early Jimmy Eat World. If you listen to early Jimmy Eat World and then you listen to anything from what's called
I know
the one with the middle, the album with the middle one,
Bleed America.
Yep. Anything from that on, it's two different bands.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I was doing,
but they had to because they were on the cusp of that era. Like
and that's
they had
the thing.
they wanted to sell records.
That's the thing. So when I was in my old band in the 90s, we were playing clubs on a Tuesday night, and the same club 2 days later, Jimmy Eat World was coming in playing at the club. So I was doing the same type of shit that they were doing.
I would venture a guess, and I'm not a huge Jimmy Eat World fan, but I am obviously familiar with that record. That's probably that's got to be their best selling record, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
So nobody bought the first two or three.
Oh yeah, well they had a bunch before that. Yeah.
They were all in on that one because that was what was selling at the time.
But that exactly. So that's the thing. It's almost like someone said, we're going to take the elements of all these bands who are kind of like the groundbreakers of this genre, which is still like at that time, it was never a genre that was embraced. You know what I mean? It was definitely the alternate genre, and we're going to take them all together and we're going to put a formula together. Okay, here's your recipe. Do this song.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's like I said, I've come to peace with the early 2000s stuff because it's like shit. It's just a repeat of shit that's been going on in music. And this happened specifically with hair metal in the 80s because you had Motley Crue, Poison, Def Leppard, and then you have Firehouse, Extreme, Great
But that's where you would lose me because you could do the same thing. You put a playlist together of hair metal and it would all.
I've talked about this with my oldest daughter Haley. I talked about on one of the podcasts. She's recently kind of got into the like late 2000s, early 2000 teens, like I guess you would consider it post-hardcore music.
Examples?
She's her current favorite band is of Mice and Men and Attack Attack.
Okay.
She was asking me if I ever listened to them, and until she did, I didn't.
No, yeah.
And I said to her, I was like, they came out at a point where I stopped searching for new stuff because everything I was finding in that genre, I couldn't tell the difference between who was who. Everything sounded the same, and especially it was like when I would get when it was still around, when the Warped Tour was still around, I was looking up the lineups for who was on Warped Tour. I would know the 5-6 bands that I wanted to see, and then here's just a litany of bullshit that I don't know what it is, and I guarantee you it all sounds the same. And it's kind of what you're talking about with the
100%.
Real quick, Jack, our producer, director, and editor, has walked in, and we had a gaming question for Jack.
Do we have the answer?
I didn't ask him yet. I'm gonna ask.
I thought he had his phone. I thought you texted
No, I just
him.
said, hey, you got to stop in. We have a gaming question for you. So, Jack, we were talking about different like old sports games and whatnot. What was the game that we had that it was a football game where you juiced up the players?
Blitz 2.
It was okay. It was Blitz 2. It was Blitz. Okay, cool.
Credit
So
to
that's like I just couldn't remember. We had on PlayStation. So yes, Lawrence Taylor, like fuck, it was his likeness and his voice and everything. But it was Blitz 2. Thank you, Jack. That's all we got. Thank you.
Jack's like, I got up for this bullshit.
He's like, I stopped gaming to answer this stupid fucking gaming question.
Definitely in that same vein, and this is something that I've been not bitching about, but like this is something that I've something I've acknowledged now for years is, so I grew up on MMR, growing up in Philly. MMR was king of the airwaves, and sort of still is as far as terrestrial radio goes. Like, it's the rock station that has lasted longer than anything in the no rock station in the world has lasted that long. Yeah. So that said, in the 2000s, that same era and the beyond, they have been playing, and I don't know what exact rock genre it is, but when MMR started putting on their concerts, their summer barbecue concerts, it's to me, they all sound the same. It's Seether, it's Hailstorm, it's all these like rock bands. Oh, nice
shit! Apparently we have it. I didn't even know you had this.
Of course I have
it, dude. Was this our copy, or you bought this again? This was our copy. Shit.
There you go.
Featuring football legend Lawrence Taylor.
Who better to promote juicing up the players than LT?
Bitch, yes. All right. So this is what, PlayStation 3? No, this couldn't be ours because we did have PlayStation 3. Oh fuck. There you go. So
what is it?
I think I know what I'm going to be playing later.
For the low price of $19.99. There you go.
Yeah, I bought it used.
It's a collector's item now.
Holy shit, that is awesome. Great. That is awesome. I think he has. I don't know what we have upstairs. I don't know if it's 3 or 5. I don't know.
Are they backward compatible now?
I don't know. That's what I'm hoping.
That was the thing. So
I know 2 could play 1, and I
think 2
could
play 1. I
2.
think 3 could play 2 and 1.
It's silly that they wouldn't be all the way
I think 4
compatible.
They started fucking with it.
Yeah.
Which is like I
stopped buying video games.
I've said before, like I have a very hard time playing. Actually, what it was that did it for me was I got Call of Duty for the Xbox 360, and the first-person shooter really fucked me up. So I can't, like, if I play modern video games for more than half an hour, I start getting motion sickness.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So I was like, there's been a few things that have come out recently where I've seen gameplay of where I've considered buying like one of the next gen consoles to play. Specifically, I watched the HBO series The Last of Us, and the game. I've always heard great things about the game. Thought about it, realized that a fucking whatever the current PlayStation is like $800. I'm like, never mind. I don't fucking need it that bad. Yeah.
I stopped buying again. It's silly, but like the last video game system, and I didn't even purchase it. My wife, then girlfriend, when I bought my house, bought me an Xbox 360, which was at the time that was the console, and I literally just every year bought NHL, blah, whatever it was, and whatever Grand Theft Auto, because you need that. You need to blow off steam. I'm just going to grab a baseball bat and walk around New York City just bludgeoning people with a baseball bat.
You need to play chill. You need to kill hookers.
Exactly.
That's what you need.
One of my favorite things about the original Grand Theft Auto, because it was on PlayStation 1, is you start the game.
Now, it might have been the same one, but the first time I played Grand Theft Auto, it was the aerial view.
Yeah.
That was on. I played it on Dreamcast. It was a buddy of mine's house, and I was like, "This is crazy! Like this is like you." Yeah. So go ahead.
So what I loved was you could put the game in on PlayStation 1, and after you're playing the game, you pop the game out, and you could throw in a regular CD, and every time you got into a car, it played a track on that CD.
No,
swear to God,
get the fuck out of here!
If you jumped on a motorcycle, it's playing the track, and you leave the CD in there because you get off.
Whatever track, so it would just start playing the CD, and then when you jumped in the vehicle, you'd get the audio from the.
You would get whatever the next track is, and it was like so funny.
I didn't fucking know
that. I would love to quiz gamers on that. Like, did they know that? Like, how many people? I know I
showed him that because we had
That's
it. I was like,
outstanding.
dude, you gotta watch this. He was
That's
like
fucking awesome.
That is outstanding.
He was at the age where he should not have been playing video games. But I think you could do the same thing with the original Tony Hawk.
Okay.
Whereas once you loaded the game,
great soundtracks on those.
You could pop out.
I say I have playlists on my phone of the soundtrack of 1 and 2 of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah.
So one of the notes that I made was NHL 2004
okay.
because it was in like if you let it go long enough, like in the menu, like it would start playing and it would start with that bass chord and a guitar riff. So and it was also, I don't know why, but like when you, because like if it was like me and my brother, me and my buddies, like you'd create this monster team like that when you would just blow through win the Stanley Cup with ease, scoring 1,000 goals and all that, and at the end of the game,
the easiest level.
Oh yeah, no, and so we got to a point where the team was good enough where we could play at the highest level. It really didn't matter. Okay. So, but the funny thing was, what I remember that from this song from was the montage after you won the cup. So it would show like pictures of your digital guys and it was that song that would play. Awesome. Yeah, so that has stuck in my head. Like that
I probably heard that song.
No one ever knows.
Yeah, because I was definitely playing those games back in the day.
I actually my senior year of high school, so I graduated 2008
with 7 kids.
with seven kids.
Where did you go to?
I went to George Washington.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You were a Ryan kid, right?
Yes.
Fucking rich kid.
Yeah, rich kid.
I can't remember what part of the year it was. So it was either 2007 or 2008. But me and this kid named Joe, we took piano class, and he was this big, like, his favorite bands were Cannibal Corpse and other death metal bands. But he fucking loved Brand New.
Okay.
So he and I, for the talent show for our senior year of high school, played The Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows.
Nice.
Yeah. It was fun.
That My Chemical Romance song.
It was My Chemical Romance song.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, I called you rich kid for going to Ryan.
Yeah.
People used to automatically, like, I went to Roman.
Sure.
And people were like, oh, you went to Roman? I'm like, yeah. Oh,
I would have called you a rich kid for going to Roman.
You must be really smart. It wasn't rich. It was like, you must be really smart. I'm like,
well, my parents wanted me to go to. My parents wanted me to go to over in Ben Salem, the prep school, Ghost.
oh, Ghost.
yeah.
So anyway, failed the test miserably. I don't know if it was subliminally on purpose because I wanted to go to Ryan with all my buddies, but I would have died at Washington. I would have never.
Washington. I used to always joke is like you always hear bad shit about like stuff that happened in Washington. The entire time that I was there, so from 2004 to 2008, I saw one fight. I saw what looked like a lot of fights, but it was really just people rap battling.
Okay.
In the cafeteria.
Yeah. Sure.
And then
saw
security
plenty of
guards
fights.
rushing in to break up the fight. And
So
it
you
was
had
just
security guards.
I had security guards, I had metal detectors, and I had X-ray machines.
that's similar to when I got into that fight with Marvin Harrison.
Local.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison, NFL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Went to Roman Catholic High School. His senior year was my freshman year.
Yeah.
Right. And so
He continued living locally. One of the guys I work with worked in his house.
Yeah. And so he went on to play to Syracuse University, play basketball and football at Syracuse, and eventually went to the NFL and played for the Colts, and is now an NFL Hall of Famer. And so my freshman year, the way that Roman had their cafeteria set up at that point was like you had the one section that was like where you got your food, and then you had like your drinks and snacks and whatnot. And this is the beginning of my freshman year, and I'm standing there, and this dude turns to me, he's like, "Yo, give me a quarter." And I was like, "No, I don't know what the fuck you are. No, I'm not giving you a quarter." He's like, "Yo, I said give me a fucking quarter." I'm like, "I'm giving you a fucking quarter." Right. Next you know, he starts pushing me, and I'm pushing him. I'm like, "Fuck you, I'm not giving you a quarter."
Right.
All his friends are going, "Oh, it ain't worth it, Marvin. It ain't worth it, Marvin." And like, they pull him away and shit. I'm like, "Yeah, fuck you, it ain't worth it."
Yeah.
Someone's like, "You know who that was?" I'm like, "No, I don't know who the fuck it was." Like, that was Marvin Harrison. I'm like,
okay.
I got
Star
no idea.
receiver for our football team.
And then like, yeah, and that's like the I was in the band. I was in the school band. So then we go to the game. I'm like, dude's like, yo. That's Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
I just put up 40 points tonight. Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. So that's what it was like with the rap battles at
Yeah, I didn't get many fights, but I will say after I had left, I did see a story where there was a fight in my high school, and the officers broke it up, and apparently like one of the officers that broke it up complained about not feeling well to one of the other guys. Went to the bathroom. Mom was like, "Hey, where the hell's what's his face?" Go into the staff bathroom, had a heart attack, and died in the bathroom.
Jesus Christ.
Apparently, the kids who were involved in the fight, they took the kids out of the school in cuffs and charged them with manslaughter.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I was like, "There's no way that's gonna fucking stick." But I get what they're getting at.
See, you had like the metal detectors and some fights and stuff like that. We had just rapey stuff going on in the background, that was kept hush hush.
Yeah, right.
And people, like literally, while I was at Ryan, the time that I spent at Ryan, Father Charles Newman and Brother Pat were stealing it. Were stealing money, embezzling money, the school money, and touching people.
Wait, real quick. Were they actually convicted?
Those two?
Uh-huh.
I believe they were, yeah.
Okay, well, just in case they weren't, allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, that was funny because, like, being a Catholic school kid growing up in the city, like, when I first started dating my wife, I'll never forget, we went to dinner. I went to dinner at her parents' house for the first time, and it was the week that, like, it was in the papers. All the priests that were defrocked, and, it was the big blow up. And we were both, like, the one guy's picture was like, "Oh, my God, he was at our school when we were in grade school." And we both said it, like, because my wife's older than me. So we like, so he was fucking bouncing around. Like, it was, and that shit was really happening.
Yep.
Did you, I have to ask you before I forget, did you know any of the Helmuth brothers? No, they may have had sisters too. I work with two guys that went to Washington. One was my age, one was younger, but I know they had a bunch of kids.
Yeah. Cool. So what else do you guys want to drool about this album over?
So, so for me, it's again being an album from a genre that I don't have a huge repertoire of. Like I enjoy it. Like I can put it like you when you text me like, hey, get some of your favorites together, your least favorite. I really had to kind of poke around for a least favorite, if I'm being honest. Like, and because I don't really dislike.
Can I have one, Paul?
I don't dislike. I'll take one too while you're in there. I'm taking. Oh yeah, whatever.
I was gonna say, if you're just gonna grab all of the same,
fine. Whatever. I don't dislike really. There's no song on here like skip. But I came up with. I even put least favorite with a question mark, like Ron Burgundy.
Well, we've also said on the podcast a lot, like it might not be a bad song. It's just you get
you're not excited.
There's the comedian Demetri Martin is talking about how grapes are the fruit of hope. He's like, if you get a bad apple, you're fucked because that's the apple you have. You get a bunch of grapes, you're going to have one bad grape, but you have a bunch of other good grapes. So by default, one of them has to be the lesser of the good.
I have that as me versus Madonna versus Elvis. It's a slow song that I don't care for the cadence of.
We're not there yet.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're not there yet.
Well, forget I said it then. What an idiot.
We'll get there.
Paul.
Yes.
We like this album.
Uh-huh.
You're towards this album.
Yeah.
That's
but we're
overstating it.
We're just a bunch of couple drunk assholes.
Yes.
There's one opinion in this world that matters most.
It is, and
whose opinion is that?
That is my daughter, my beautiful 7-month-old daughter Regina. So the Regina factor on this. Now
keep in mind this is one of my albums, so she probably liked it.
Well, actually, so here's the thing. I'm actually putting this as an indifferent.
Oh, interesting.
And
I think this is the first indifferent that we've had since we started keeping track.
Factor, yes. And here is why this is an indifferent. I want to make it kind of clear so people aren't like, well, he just wanted an indifferent because Adam's leading him in fucking 2 categories now.
Yeah.
No. So
Adam's fucking killing it.
Here's what I'll say. So she's heard this album a few times. Okay. First 2 times I put it on and she fell asleep almost immediately. Now, part of that was because, as I had mentioned in the last episode, our air conditioning was broken and, we were in a mini heat wave here in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia.
Still are.
Ottsville.
The other day at work, we got an emergency shipment of 17 pallets of air conditioners.
Wow, that's crazy. So our air did actually get fixed this past Thursday, so it's very comfortable here in the Ottsville Record Garage again, and it's very comfortable in our house. So the first couple times she listened to this, I literally was, putting her in a car to go to the mall to walk around the mall for a few hours to get the baby out of the heat. Yeah. And she fell asleep almost immediately. Right.
What mall are you going to up here?
Up here there's a few, but I drove all the way down to the Willow Grove Mall, so that way. Okay. So it was about 45 minutes down to the mall. There's a mall that's closer. The Montgomery Mall's closer, but I figured she could be in the car for the air conditioning for 45 minutes, and then we'll walk around the mall, and then same thing going home. It's 45 minutes back. So I put it on, and she fell asleep almost immediately both times, going down and coming back. I listened to it and whatnot. Food shopping, same thing happened. Like we already had air and everything. So and this was before and after food shopping. She fell asleep almost immediately. So you can't really get a grasp on it because like we've talked about it, the child listens to music. She sings along with stuff. Yeah. So I did the last try today was I actually put your album on the turntable. I actually put your actual album on, and I'm sitting there with her. Katie was off getting a shower or something like that, and so it came on. The first song came on, not this first song. The second song came on, and she was reacting a little bit. Yeah. But then she saw the dogs and started laughing hysterically. Yeah. So It's indifferent with a leaning towards like, but I still gotta put it like indifferent because when she doesn't like something, she'll let you know she fucking doesn't like it.
Just that description of like kind of going for it, but then like, oh, there's Winnie Cooper. That's
exactly.
That's indifferent if I've ever heard
exactly
it
because like she also, if she loves something, like we were talking about in the Sam Cooke album, she starts singing along like as much as a baby sings along, but she'll try to match pitches and tones and stuff like that. She wasn't really doing this. It was just kind of like, okay, and she's just kind of there, and she's like, oh, doggy. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, no, I'm gonna go through. But I think it's a solid indifferent on this one. So we got for the Regina Factor album, Adam has 6 likes and 1 dislike. I have 2 likes and 2 dislikes, and Regina has 4 that she's indifferent of.
But if I'm not mistaken, now we both have 2 indifferents, correct?
I believe so. Yeah. That'll be two indifference for us. And ironically enough, one of her other indifferent ones is Taking Back Sunday. Tell all your friends. So I think she understands what genre copycatism is.
I have to say I love the Regina Factor. I think that's phenomenal.
And that was
and it was our
it came out of
passed out brothers idea.
Yeah. And it was like you guys sit there and talk about Regina and that's what she loves the albums, and I was like, shut up, pass out or something. And I was like, oh,
as Paul's writing it down, I was like,
let me write the Regina Factor.
Regina Factor, fuck you, Zach.
Oh man, so that is the Regina Factor. We were at 4 indifferent albums with the Regina Factor.
Do you have notes on like what has she liked best? Like, has there been one that she was like all in on? Like, or is it just a simple? Is it a just yes or no kind of?
It's kind of like a yes or no. Okay. I could tell you she was all out on Say Anything. She was 100% out on Say Anything. Like, oh yeah. Right. And I mean, and that's the thing. Like, and that's where. I'm sure there's people like, you can't tell what a fucking 7-month-old baby likes. So perfect example was on Saturday. My wife Katie and I were driving home from Bethlehem, and just Regina was just in a mood, and like the radio was on, and it's funny because it was playing Heart, and I remember Katie saying like, oh, I guess she doesn't like Heart because she's sitting there crying and very very cranky. Usually this child like chills and falls asleep in the car. There's a windy road and ups and downs, which also usually puts her to sleep. And so I was like, yeah, no, I don't think she likes Heart. So I first I tried throwing on Little Shop of Horrors. She wasn't having it. So then I threw on like Canon and D by the Brooklyn Duo because that tends to be her thing. She likes classical music. Wasn't having it. Threw on the Hairspray soundtrack. By the middle of Good Morning Baltimore, she was good to go. And she was cool, and then she just chilled and was actually awake. Like the other, like I think at that point we had like 30 minutes left on our ride, and she was awake the whole time just listening. So she knows music. She knows definitely what she likes.
Yeah. So my girls have their favorites. Obviously, a lot of it is Disney stuff from the Disney movies they like. However, they do like modern music and stuff. So, or even older stuff like my older one loves Big Girls Don't Cry, stuff like that. So anyway, we were on our way down the shore, wherever we were going, and I said, "Listen, girls, so we're gonna take a break from the Disney music for a minute. We're gonna put on something that mommy and daddy want to listen to, but stuff that you like too, stuff that mommy plays for you when you're out and about." So she puts on Florence and the Machine. Okay. And my older one has a fucking fit, like immediately against it, and then as she is coming out of said fit is asking to play the song again. She's like, oh yeah, I do like that one. It's like, fucking kids, man. Like, yeah, so it's like, give them a minute.
Adam has some pretty strong feelings.
I've always so I have 3. I have an 18-year-old, I have an 18-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old boy, and a 4-year-old boy.
Okay.
And I would take a bullet for any of those 3 kids any day of the week. Kids are the worst fucking human beings that have ever walked the planet of the Earth. And they're terrible, but I love them, and I would never change a second of having them.
You have to remember that you were once said
exactly
worst person. Yeah.
What do you think of the strobe?
I like it. I actually like it a lot. Yeah. I am. So again, as I'm growing into an old man at the ripe old age of 37, I can't drink like the good, like super hoppy double IPAs that I once loved. So like lager beers, and these are what's up my alley. So I'm constantly looking for like regular pale ales, lagers, golden ales, stuff like that. Is kind of right down my
golden showers.
Well, you know, I mean,
After a few, you know.
when you gotta go, I mean, you know, and if somebody
You're not going to waste it.
Yeah.
Somebody
willingly wants to stand there, I mean, you know, no judgment.
Wow, we've gone to like a lot of different
We
places
have,
in this
really
podcast
have.
today.
We really have. What are we here for?
We're here. Adam. Well, actually, first, does anybody do either of you? I have nothing else to say about this piece of shit album.
I
So,
have a couple. So the only other note that I made, other than my favorites and my least favorites, which, you know, fucking stupid me, you know, first time podcaster here,
right.
stepping out of line. But no, on March the 29th, 2008. I got to see these guys in a little college auditorium at Dickinson College. I was dating a girl at the time who went there, and they just happened to be the band coming through town. Again, knew who they were. Wasn't like a huge fan, but like definitely like at that time, it's like I would go see any concert. You know what I mean?
I say at that point they were, because I saw them in. I want to say I saw them in 2007-ish.
Yeah.
So Devil and God
was coming.
Raging Inside Me was
out in the
2006,
majority of that show was Devil and Gods.
I saw them at the only show that I've ever been on the gate for was I saw them at the Electric Factory. The artist formerly known as the Electric Factory.
Franklin Music Hall, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, Thrice opened for them, and Me Without You opened for them. And it was right around them touring. You know, I think it was on the back end of touring Devil and God. Yeah. So I still regret that I'm not seeing that acoustic set at the Tower Records.
But that was.
But I was happy that I got to see them
at that.
Regardless.
I actually, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to ask because it's not good for radio. But I had.
We got video
pulled
too.
up. Yeah, I pulled up a picture of that little auditorium. It is literally like just a little tiny college auditorium, and we were on the stage. We were standing.
Awesome.
We were standing on the stage. So that was great. One of the things that I remember the most, and I fucking sold this record years ago, and I regret it because it's 45. I don't collect them. The B-side to Jesus Christ was a song called Brothers, the little acoustic song. If you're familiar with it, no. It's a quiet acoustic song. But he came out, Jesse, and played that acoustic. And
that's awesome.
First time I heard it, I was like, I love that song. And then for years, I was like, I couldn't find it. And here I found out later it was a B-side. It wasn't on the record. And then I found it's on the only place it was. I think it may have been released now on some sort of. They have a B-sides like 10-inch that like has all their B-sides, but for a while the only record that you could get it on was a picture disc 7-inch that had like, it was really cool. It had like different like Jellyfish or Portuguese Man of War on either side, and two things I don't collect: 45s and picture discs. I don't care for either one of them. No. But I had it for a while because that was the only place I could find that song on vinyl, and that's really the only way I listen to music anymore. And I ended up selling it because it was worth like $100 some odd. So.
Real quick, I just want to say, like, and even though I don't like the band, I don't like the album.
Really,
the idea of right. I don't know if you could tell. The idea of seeing them in a small venue like that is actually real cool. It's like that is some of like the best places to see the band.
Seeing live music in general.
So Zach has seen them a couple times. He's seen them. He saw them with me at the Electric Factory. He saw them at Tower Records. He saw them Bamboozle. He's seen them a few times, and he's established that there's two different versions, especially now. Two different versions of Brand New that you can see.
Right.
You either see Brand New where they play all the hits, or there's Brand New where they do like 10-minute freeform jazz.
Yeah, I mean,
interludes.
And so
I think I got a jazz interlude.
Yeah, and it depends. Like if you really love a band, like you have to be all in on a band. Mm-hmm. So again, I hate to keep going back to it, but Pearl Jam, for instance, been following them their entire career, been listening. I have all their records. Saw them on all the tours that I could and all that. I saw them on a one-off show in 2005. They were touring like South America, and I think they went through Canada. And then for some reason or another, they did a show at Philly at the Big Joint at Wachovia or whatever it was back then, and 2 shows in Atlantic City in one of the small rooms down at the Borgata. And I got a ticket to the Borgata shows were insanely expensive. I couldn't even think about it at the time. I got a ticket the day of the show because I got skunked on the public sale and I wasn't paying aftermarket prices. So I said to my buddies, I'm like, you know what, dude? I'm bummed, but I'm not going.
Yeah.
So I said, So the day of the concert, I'm at work, and I said, and my buddy calls me. He goes, "Listen," he goes, "go online. Like Ticketmaster releases tickets the day of the show. Sometimes they open up more seats. They don't know how the layout's going to be. So I go on. Sure enough, there's a ticket.
Yeah.
So I buy it. Call my boss. I'm like, hey, taking a half day. Hang up. Buzz back to the garage. Jump in my car. Go load up a cooler of beer. Fly down to the Wachovia Center, and I go to see Pearl Jam. Now my seat was in the first row, on the back left corner of the stage because they sell the entire bowl out. You know, so sound wise, not the best sound not the best concert I've ever seen. One of the coolest experiences because I was sitting right behind Matt Cameron, got to see him drumming all night, which was great. The band turned around and played a song to the back at a certain point. Yeah. But that show, if you look at that show, it was, and they mentioned it a few times during the show, it was, if you were a Pearl Jam fan, it was a B-sides concert. Like, if you were a casual Pearl Jam fan and you wanted to see 10 and Versus of Vitalogy, you would have been miserable because it was not that show. So yeah, but I agree. Like, so you got that show where it was like you'd have to be a really deep. It was a deep dive.
They still played some of they played some of the. I mean, I don't really think you could really consider anything. Oh, they have to. Sowing Season and Jesus Christ are listed as singles off Devil on God.
I wasn't a huge obviously there's a few songs off Devil and Gods that I really like, but for me, for Brand New, it was the first two records for me.
Paul.
Yes.
Well, not Paul, because you're
Paul.
You're a guest in this house.
I'm only a country hipster.
You've already alluded towards your least favorite.
Yeah.
Should we do least favorites first then?
We can do least favorites first. So we talk about your least favorite.
So I like I said, I had to really kind of poke around and find it. And when I was listening to it, I listened to Me versus Madonna versus Elvis, and I just. Again, slow song, not that I'm against the slow song. I just don't care for the cadence of the song. It just doesn't, I could skip it, I wouldn't care, but it doesn't offend me. I'm not like, oh, this is a terrible song. It's just,
Now, I've always really enjoyed Me versus Madonna versus Elvis. Listening to it and listening to the lyrics now, knowing everything that's come out about the lead singer. Gives you one of the lyrics of the song is, my tongue will taste of gin and malicious intent.
Mm-hmm. It does give you a different
If you let me have my way, I swear I'll tear you apart. Like, it's listening to that song now, knowing about shit that he's done in the past is like, oh, yeah, okay, this is kind of making sense now. Like,
I agree. But interesting, similar, and this applies to everybody, even those who hate this record and band and all that. But no, that like as an adult, as somebody who has now lived life and has children and all that, and you're not an angsty teenager anymore, right? I listened to this obviously a bunch of times this week, and there were times when, again, excuse me, I enjoy this record. I really do. I love this record. But like you listen to the lyrics, it's like at a certain point you're like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all lived through that time in our lives when those things were important. When that girl was the only thing that mattered. So yeah, but
grow set and like deal with it.
Right, exactly right.
I've heard Jesse Lacey referred to as not that he is, but almost that he's trying to be the American Morrissey. And I can kind of.
I just fucking.
Paul's eyes rolls just so hard that I'm sure he got fucking dizzy from it. I
saw the back of my head, and I'm still bald.
I can see what they're talking about, and it would make sense because everything I know of Morrissey, he is a pretentious douchebag.
Yes.
I assume
everything in this record,
If I met the lead singer of this band, he is a pretentious douchebag. And
like if we could, we don't have them in front of us. We could have them in front of us, but it doesn't matter. But you listening to this record, some of the stuff on this record, you have to take pause and think, and you're like, is he being, is what he's saying? Is he trying to be self-deprecating, or is he really fucking tooting his own horn here to this broad, saying like, I'm what you wanted all the other boys to be. I'm what you know what I mean. So like, do you But again, then you have to harken back. You have to take yourself back to that time in your life when you got your heart broken for the first time, and you sit there like, well, why am I not good enough? Or why, you know what I mean? But this is this guy like whining about this on the record. But again, when you listen to it over and over again, sometimes like at a certain point, you're just like.
I will say this: it's sometimes,
but it's the genre though. It's
literally, but not only that. Sometimes the best albums come from breakups.
Of course, yeah.
Like what's it called? Neil Young on a Beach. That's his divorce album.
Yeah. I've heard people say
record,
the best art comes from the best art comes from suffering in some way.
Yeah.
The 3 early Counting Crows albums all came from Adam DeWitt's breakups. Birmingham 6 Move On is my divorce album. It's the greatest album ever made.
Yeah.
Just want to say that.
Let's-
Put that
like,
out there.
let's-
Some would put it up there with Deja Entendu.
Exactly.
Let's look at every fucking most Taylor Swift fucking hits are all like.
Yep.
I mean,
So-
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the biology of every record ever made, but like you'd have to assume like nobody's pulling this stuff out of their ass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain genres that like, whatever. Nobody wrote, like Elvis never wrote music, never wrote songs.
Yeah.
He never wrote any of his songs. He was just a performer. He was, so that's just like popular music, whatever. But like this stuff, there's a little substance to it. Like obviously that substance comes from somewhere, and it has to be. Somebody lived it. Somebody lived that, and they were able to put it on paper, which is great in most cases.
So, what is your least favorite song?
So like you said in your notes, I can see you have the least favorite question mark.
Yeah.
The easy.
I could have easily put 2 or 3 others in my top 3.
The easy answer is I have always pronounced it as tattoo.
Okay.
The
opener,
intro
No,
thing.
I'm glad.
That's
you
the
brought that.
easy way.
I
of
omitted that
Is that
purposely,
is that
but
being considered a song?
yeah, and
or is it an
I
intro?
omitted it
No,
purposely.
I don't.
Okay, yeah, because
That gets an honorable mention for sure for me
yeah.
as well.
it has its own track. It has its own track, and it is
Yeah.
like,
But it sets the tone.
It's like, it's an hour.
sets the tone.
It's a minute and 47-second
Sets the tone.
intro. I
I
don't consider that a song.
Neither do I. I was just, if I was
an
going
interlude.
to take the
Yeah.
easy way out to not pick, to not,
Like
pick,
if we were considering a song, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's tough because like the more like when I was listening to it, I listened to it yesterday on the way to work. I listened to it today coming up here, and again, I said it earlier. It's not that it's a bad song. I fucking love the song, but to me, it's the lesser of the album. I'm putting Jaws theme swimming as my release, just because when I think of this album, it's not the first song my mind goes to.
Right.
It's
I have that as my third
I
favorite.
I saw that.
We're not there yet.
We're
God
jumping
damn
the
it.
gun. But yeah, it's
Who invited this fucking guy?
I say I love this whole album and I love that song, but it's like when I think of this album, there's so many more things on this album that I think of before that. So I'm gonna put Jaws theme swimming at the bottom of my list. What about you, Paul?
Throw a dart at the fucking record. Yeah,
No,
any
no,
one
no,
of
no.
them.
It was actually very. It's because I actually have like least. I said Tao Tao or whatever the fuck it is. If we're considering that a real song, but I don't.
And
I
would say
consider
no.
it
Just
a
an
minute and 47 second
intro, interlude, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, cool. So otherwise, it's Play Crack the Sky.
Okay.
Which, by the way, have you ever listened to the Mylan LeFevre Crack the Sky song?
No.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I actually had the album. I had the album used.
Is it a cover?
No.
Okay.
But like that is the one thing I will say that I thought was interesting. Like you had mentioned, like how some of their song titles are just
It was
It is very much of that era. Like, for instance, I just had the album.
They're consistent with it anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Sick Transit Gloria
Yeah.
Fades is a reference to the movie Rushmore.
Right.
Okay, I Believe You, but my Tommy Gun Don't
yeah.
is another.
That's Home Alone
Home
2.
Alone.
Yeah.
Yes.
that made up movie.
Yes.
A lot of in that era, that was a thing. That was like a very like, for instance, Fall Out Boy's second album, Take This to Your Grave. They had Tell That Mick He Just Made My List of Things to Do Today, which was another Rushmore
movie
reference.
Well, I mean, even
they all had these
Yes.
ridiculous.
like even look to, I guess this would be 90s. Fiona Apple's debut album is this fucking paragraph of a title. I forget what the actual the short title is, but it's like 3 words. It's like dot, but the whole title is a whole fucking paragraph. But
It was a very strange thing, like in that early
Yes.
2000s era of this music.
But
where
that's what
it was like, who can have the longest, most obscure movie reference as their fucking song title?
And that was what this is. It's just a reference to the Mylan LeFevre album and song "Crack the Sky." So it's called "Play Crack the Sky."
Right.
And it just doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a second, probably about maybe three. I'll give it 3 seconds. I appreciated how they were trying to harken to Bright Eyes. I'm Wide Awake. It's morning with some of like the distended harmonies that they had going on, but ultimately I was just like, this song fucking sucks.
To me, like I said, again, I enjoy the entire album, but I would say the latter half of this, particularly the latter the last quarter of the album, I will say, is weaker than sure.
In my opinion,
doesn't go
out
out with a bang,
the last,
for sure.
like, it's what 12 songs, 10 songs, 11 songs. But yes,
11 songs including Tattoo or whatever the fuck it is.
The in my opinion too, the second half of the album is not as strong as the first.
100%. I could easily agree.
After they cover My Chemical Romance, the album goes downhill.
Yeah, should have left the cover song out, honestly.
So you just referenced Jaws theme swimming as being on your top 3. What are the other 2 on your top 3?
Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows, and that was again because that was the first song I'd heard off of that record because of NHL '94, which we already talked about. And I really do dig that song. I just think it's a good, the whole My Chemical Romance, as far as I'm concerned. There is no better cover. And then I also have Sick Trance of Gloria. I really, like I said, the more upbeat stuff like that for me, like it's not that I don't enjoy slower, the really, really deep emo stuff, but that stuff for me, like that's the stuff that, I want to hear.
Especially with Sick Trance of Gloria, that just like the bounce.
Yeah.
It's very
100%.
Like it's snappy. I've referred to shit before on the podcast.
And I'm trying to think because I made a note. I had Jaws was not originally it was not my third.
We've had slashes tons of times. And
it was actually I think it was actually Okay I Believe You, but My Tommy Gun Don't was originally. But either way, like I said, I could have probably interspersed any number of songs as that third favorite song because again I just really I enjoy the record.
What do you got? You go first.
I have an empty beer. Can I
Get the man a beer, for God's sake.
So it's funny that you say you
drink one of these lemon things.
You put Play Crack the Sky as your least. I started playing electric guitar. First guitar I ever bought was an electric guitar. I bought an acoustic, and the first song I learned how to play on an acoustic guitar after I bought it was Play Crack the Sky.
No shit. Okay. Yeah.
Play Crack the Sky was weirdly enough it was one of the only songs that I knew all of the words to all the way through. So when my oldest was, an infant into, toddler, I would sing her Play Crack the Sky to get her to go to sleep.
Nice.
I got scared there for a second. I thought we lost the audio. I was like, "Fuck, wait."
So I put Play Crack the Sky at Play Crack the Sky taught me what a flat symbol means when you're tuning an instrument because it's played in E flat. Mm-hmm. So Play Crack the Sky, I might even put it number 1 on my list. It's like I said, first song I learned. I bought an acoustic guitar, and the first thing I thought to myself was, I need to fucking learn how to play Crack the Sky.
Do you need another one?
Thank you.
I'm probably putting Okay I Believe You by My Tommy Gun Don't on the list, and the third one is either a toss up. I'm either going, and I really fucking thought about this on the way up here to the point where like I listened to this album on my way to and from work on Saturday, and then on the way up here. And in my head, I do not remember listening to the one song that's the Slash. To the point where when I was listening to it on the way up here, after the album ended, I went back and made sure I listened to that song again. So I'm either going to put The Boy Who Blocked His Own Shot or Guernica is how I always pronounce it.
I would agree.
So the quiet. What did I say? Okay, I Believe You by My Tommy Gun Don't, Play Crack the Sky, and either, depending on what day it is, The Boy Who Blocked His Own Shot or Guernica.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, like when I said that this album is
yeah,
right, it's
yeah.
But I found 2 songs that stood out.
Okay.
I don't have a 3 because I have 3 songs that stand out. One of them's the worst fucking song on the album.
Yeah.
Besides the stupid intro. And then I have 2 that I actually like, and the rest of the album is so I don't. It's I couldn't identify the rest of the album as I liked them or I hated them.
Yeah.
Which is for me with this album and you know and my history now with the
with the genre,
with this genre, that's probably not bad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a win.
It's a win. It's a win for
the
you.
The fact
Adam.
that you found 2 songs.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I even think, what did I find on Say Anything? No, I was able to list 3 songs I hated, but like 1 song I actually liked on To Say Anything. So this is better than Say Anything.
Yeah.
So that is a real boy. It's way better than that. And I say that generously. It is way better than that album. But so I have two. I will play my. I can't read my writing.
I will play my game Beneath the Spin.
Thank you. Which I am, like I said, I am actually probably going to start learning how to play on guitar, so I can start doing it in my solo shows.
Set, yeah.
Which, by the way, forgot to mention earlier. This week I am playing today, since this is now Thursday. I am playing at Dooney's for my summer residency. I have no other shows this weekend because I'm going on vacation for the weekend.
So I will play my game Beneath the Spinlight,
and then I got 2. I got a second one.
No. Before you move on to it.
Before we move on,
when I first heard this album, I was dating my daughter's mom, and she played.
So was everybody else.
Exactly. What she played? She played guitar a little bit, and in my head, she was a better guitar player than I was because of something I heard her play one time.
Okay.
So I had said to her the one time, like, "Oh, you should learn how to play these 2 brand new songs." And it was, "I will play my game Beneath the Spinlight," and "Okay, I believe you," but my Tommy gun don't. Recently, while hanging out with my current girlfriend Katai, I had my guitar with me, and I was playing. I played something that she had introduced me to. As I forget the guy who sings it with her, but it's Miranda Lambert is featured on it. It's a song called Waxahachie. It's a catchy country song. She likes Miranda Lambert, but digress. I was just scrolling.
We all have things that we like that we probably shouldn't. But go on.
I was scrolling.
Like whenever the movie Selena comes on, I'm stuck.
Yeah, I mean, who
I killed my best friend. I killed my best friend.
Who isn't stuck on that?
Exactly.
But just scrolling through like random like interest I had of like stuff that I wanted to play, I just looked up. You know, I never attempted to play. I will play my game Beneath the Spinlight because I was like, oh, I'm not that good at guitar.
You
couldn't. No, it's not
at all. Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I'm adding it, because I'm like, oh, I could play this.
I literally I looked up the music, hadn't heard the song in forever. Looked up the music 9 beers deep. Played it.
And that's the thing. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I actually and it really has nothing to do with the fact that it's a brand new song. It's I've heard that song. I've heard that song a bunch. I didn't know it was brand new.
Right.
I couldn't like the My Chemical Romance cover they do. You know, I can't say, you know, I will play my game Beneath the
Spinlight.
Whatever. Yeah, it's too long.
It is.
I can't sit there and say I thought it was some other band. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know it was them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I've actually always liked that song when I've heard it.
No.
You know, I just never knew it was brand new.
Right.
Which is probably why, you know, it for me, it's probably fortunate I didn't know it was brand new.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I do have that and I'm an asshole about it. I do have that, like, oh, that's that band? No, fuck them.
Yeah.
I try to keep an open mind to music.
Sure.
But once I've written off a band, fuck that band.
Yeah.
I don't want, you know, I will give bands a second shot. Like we've talked about this, like, keep going back to the fucking Counting Crows, where I hated the first album, heard some songs off the second album, went back and listened to the first album.
It's a really good album. Yeah.
Foo Fighters, hated the first album. Still hate the first album, but love the colors and the shapes.
I remember you talking about like calling Sean or whatever and talking about Monkey Wrench.
When I heard Monkey Wrench, I'm like, dude, you got to fucking
Monkey
hear
Wrench
this.
is a killer
Like, you know what I mean?
No.
So, you know, so I will generally give bands 2 shots. You know, so, but I don't know that I'll admit it, I don't know that I ever would have given Brand New a shot.
No.
So if I'd known that was Brand New, I probably would have written off that song.
No.
So I'm kind of glad I didn't know it was brand new, because I do like that song. I actually genuinely really like that song.
Okay.
My other song that I like, because I can't find a third, and it's funny because you mentioned it. It is "Okay, I Believe You," but my Tommy Gun don't.
Which there's something I wanted to ask you guys about. Something I noticed while listening to it. The spacing in between the songs is minimal to non-existent, especially with Play My Game and Okay, I Believe You, My Tommy Gun Don't. Where to the fact where the first time I heard this album, I thought it was literally just like an 8-minute fucking song that has a complete key change.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Again, I was 13 and impressionable.
Right.
Now I can very obviously tell the difference, but is there something to be said about like an artistic specific artistic take on doing that, or do you think
a pause, like a specific pause?
So here's what I will say: there is an album on my 25, so I don't want to get too into it. That you are 6 to 7 songs deep. Not that you don't realize that there's different songs, but you're 6 or 7 songs deep when you go, man, I'm 6 or 7 songs deep, and I didn't fucking realize it because it goes boom to boom to boom to boom to boom, and that is for that album. I think it is an artistic thing, and it's also kind of a one of the things that makes that album great. So one of the bands who I like is a band called Continental. Continental is the
I enjoy their breakfast.
Yes. Continental is the 2 main members of Continental. They have the 4-piece band. They'd probably be upset if I said main members, but it's Rick Barton and Stephen Barton, and Rick Barton is actually one of the founding members of Dropkick Murphys. Okay, and I've gotten the opportunity to know Rick and Stephen, but a little bit more so Rick, and like get to talk to him and whatnot. I've opened for him a bunch of times. Open for the Continental, and the last time I played with them, which was like, can't even remember what it was a while. They literally came out, and I remember, and once Rick said it, he's like, "Hey guys, we just did 9 songs in a row. My son's very proud of me right now because Steven's his son, on the bass, and Rick plays guitar and sings." But it's like one of those things where like, oh fuck, we are 9 songs deep. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So with that album that's on our on my 25, it's like, oh fuck, we're 6 or 7 songs deep, and they are 6 or 7, and they are 6 to 7 different songs. So I think it kind of depends on the flow and how the album's put together.
But I think it's definitely thought out.
Yeah, I did notice though, in between. Excuse me, I burped. Motherfucker, I clicked away from it. In between, good to know that if I ever need attention, all I need to do is die and play Crack the Sky. There's a very substantial gap between those. It's not even a gap. It's really just like a kind of quiet point at the end of Good to Know.
Yeah.
And then even a pause
before play Crack the Sky. 5 or 6 seconds before they actually start playing in Crack the Sky.
Yeah. So I'm curious of why the choice of between tracks 2 through 6 you have almost minimal to no break whatsoever, and then you get to this last thing and it's a 5 to 7 second.
There's got to obviously thought out, but I think that it has to do with the cadence of the songs, like on the first half of the record. But like, it's not like a pregnant like secret song pause. Like, you know what I mean? Because we've all the Green Day had a famous one on. Was it? No, it wasn't on. Was it on Dookie?
I don't think it's on Dookie.
No, whatever record it was. I was all by myself. Yeah, that one. But there's a
Counting Crows had one.
Counting Crows had one.
The third album, I think it is. It might be on the first album. There's definitely on the third one. They have it. They have like a long. It's like last song on like the third album is like, if you look at the time, it's 13 minutes because they played a song and then they have.
I love the secret song on a record because you could see it. You could see the dead. It's like this big strip of dead wax. Like
there's a Beatles that has there's a Beatles that has a secret song. Is it?
Oh wait, no. Well, on the end of one of their records ends in a repeating skip track.
It's not that. There is a Beatles that it was considered a secret because I don't even think it's listed. I don't know if it's off on Abbey Road or if it's off the White Album. I don't think it's off the White Album. I think it's Abbey. It's either Abbey Road or Sgt. Pepper. But there is a track on a Beatles album that is an unlisted track. I mean, if you look at the vinyl, which is funny that they were doing a secret song then because you can look at the fucking vinyl and see it.
Kings of Leon has one on their first record.
Okay.
Is it their first record or their second record? Either way, it's and again, you can see it on the record, but either way, on the record or on the CD, it is a like minutes long pause.
Yeah.
And like I have caught myself drifting away, if you will, in the music room and forgot that you know, and then all of a sudden it kicks
it's
in.
like,
You're
oh
holy
shit, hey, what the fuck? Yeah.
And it's a good song too. It's always a plus when
I know
it's
why you were drifting away in your music room.
Yeah,
and that thing is amazing.
It happens. It happens to the best of us.
So so there we go. So all right.
So can I ask you one thing?
So do it.
You obviously mentioned that you want to put I will. What the hell's the name of that song?
Play my game.
Wait, again, going back to what I said much earlier, way too long. But would you, even if just those two songs, like if you just had a master playlist going that you just put on shuffle for when you're doing shit around the house, would you consider putting those on your?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so, but I just figured.
It's a fair question. It's a fair question.
Yeah.
Now, maybe now, because I have been listening to it more. Maybe I would put I will play my game under the blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah.
Possibly, but probably not. Like I actually have a Spotify playlist that has it's actually called My Favorite Songs, and it has like 250 songs on it. And like I'll sometimes if I can't decide what I want to listen to, or if I've listened to one of Adam's bullshit albums enough during the week when I'm mowing the lawn, I'll throw that list on, which is
like
funny,
a detox,
dude. Kind of because like the fucking worst thing that all right, so. As we've talked, I don't have a real job anymore. I play music and I run the Optimal Record Garage and
living the dream.
You know, and then I have the the Country Hipster podcast. None of which I make very much money out of any of it. But so what I used to do at my when I was a supply chain manager is every Monday I would actually come in, and after I got done my morning meeting of yelling at everybody, I would throw on my Spotify your weekly playlist. Now, just because between the shit you have me listening to sometimes and then listening to Little Shop of Horrors all the time,
I fucked up your algorithm.
Oh, the algorithm is totally
How many times
fucked.
a week are you doing the time warp?
I'm not actually. I'd be happier doing a time warp more often. But yeah, no, it was just like actually Jack said he's like we should play Rocky Horror for Regina, and I'm like, oh, we probably should. I think she might actually like that.
Yeah.
Because she likes that like she likes that shit. But yeah, so now like every now and then I'll see like, oh, what's my weekly fucking songs for you? My weekly playlist say like, oh god. It's like what the fuck is this? Yeah.
It's awesome. We broke their algorithm.
We did broke the algorithm, which is probably good. 'Cause sometimes the algorithm. What I used to like to do with that is like, on the Monday mornings after the meeting, I would actually look for some reason. It would always show a cover of there would actually be one cover from a band who I may never have heard of, or I'm like, oh, that band covered that song, and so I would usually that would be the first thing I would play, and I would just put the rest of the stuff on shuffle just to see.
You mentioned for a second, since this is a vinyl podcast, like I really dig the artwork on this record as well. Like
I've seen
nice.
Quite a few people have that image of the astronaut kind of hovering above the water.
Tattoo.
A lot of fucking forearm tattoos.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of forearms, a lot of fucking ribs I've seen.
But that's a really good.
And here's the thing: as someone who got like nautical stars and my daughter's name in Chinese on my arm in the late '90s, I'm not gonna like fucking shame people for getting.
I have my own last name tattooed on my fucking forearm.
That's
like
cool.
A dumbass.
Tell people about your tattoo. Actually, I think your tattoo is one of the coolest tattoos ever.
Which one?
The Braille one.
Oh, so. My daughter, we've talked about it before. My daughter is born blind.
Yeah, I mentioned to my wife tonight about the Stevie Wonder thing that guys were talking about.
I'll stand up and I'll actually untuck my shirt. But I have what my daughter's name looks like in Braille.
Very cool.
Down my ribcage.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
So much so actually. So the guy who did this also did. I have one of the characters from the Tootsie Pop wrappers on the inside of my arm.
Okay.
Nice.
And when I went to get this one done, he was like, "You look really familiar." And I lifted my shirt up. I'm like, "You did that?" And he's like, "I have that in my portfolio."
Nice.
And I'm like, "Nice,
Very
that's
cool.
awesome." And he's like, "Yeah, it's one of the coolest things I did."
The only problem is Haley can't actually read it.
No. I mean, you can do that. They do have some weird fucking
get some
do some weird
things where you put
branding
shit under the
and
skin,
that,
but
yeah.
I'm not that drunk.
Yeah. So, well, it's great that you fucking perfect segue. You're like a natural at this, Nick. that brings us to this particular. No.
Oh, that's right. I
Jesus
forgot.
Christ,
I'm sorry. I forgot.
Adam, how much have you drank? Oh, look. Okay.
Yeah, but these are like this is
That's not much.
5 and these are 4.2 and
yeah. Well, but it does bring us to. So okay. So first, I want to preface this with
this isn't colored, right?
No, it is not. It is not. We call that black.
I have
we
been
don't call them
searching
colored.
for. Do you happen to know which pressing this is off the top of your head or no?
No, I do know that it's not.
I'll tell you.
Paul will tell you, but I do know that this is at least after they for a while. So I was actually reading when they first pressed this album, they pressed 1,000 copies of it.
It's very hard to get.
And I was talking before. To find one of those 1,000 copies, if you find them on eBay, they're going for they're listed for $600-700.
Right, so which is the thing, Nick. What is the stupidest amount of money you ever paid for a record? Because I can tell you that my stupidest amount of money actually isn't that much because it was probably.
Would you hand me my phone, please? Because I can tell you, I will tell you down to the cent.
It was probably my the Billy Joel box set that I bought, but I bought it brand new, so I think wholesale it cost me $100. Do you know what I mean? Because we've talked about it, and I've talked about it on the podcast.
I don't spend stupid money on it.
Okay, you don't do. Okay.
But I have spent, so I'll tell you.
So it's almost like I want to, sometimes tell. We talked about this just last week. My fear with collecting vinyl records is that my fear is that it will turn into the Beanie Babies, where people are paying all this money for something that's not worth it. Yep. So I don't want that to happen. So I personally don't buy stupid shit. But now that being said, if I had something that was worth stupid money, I am probably going to charge stupid money for it because someone's going to buy. I mean, we are a capitalistic society, and I am a material girl, and we live in a material world. You know what I mean?
We are indeed. So I'm gonna go ahead out on a limb and say it was probably one of my
I just want to know if it was something cool or something.
Well, I'll tell you, you'll be able to appreciate this. That one of the things that as my turntable, my amp, my speakers have improved over the years.
Yes.
I now seek out the best sounding pressings of particular albums,
and some of that you have bought.
You have
the
to,
Oxford record,
and I have, yes. But that said, so I want to have, and I do now. Over the years, I've collected all original 90s U.S. pressings of Pearl Jam records. As you know, they can be pricey.
They can be, yes.
So probably the most I've ever paid for a record was Live on Two Legs, a copy of Live on Two Legs, and for the life of me, I can't find it where it's listed, but over $100 somewhere, probably maybe 200.
So that's
No, I've never, and I don't have the kind of money to pay.
So here's the thing, I don't necessarily think that is unreasonable. If I could
paid
get
$100 for probably a good handful or 2 handfuls of records over the course of the years.
If I could get. And I've seen them priced high, and I haven't bought one because it's either I don't trust the seller or I'm just I'll wait. I've seen copies of the Dead Milkmen, Big Lizard in My Backyard, original pressings.
Yep.
I've seen them for around 100, 125, 150.
Yeah, sure.
At some point, I probably will buy one.
Of course, yeah.
Do you know I remember you texting you. There was my season 2 used to always go to Ocean City, New Jersey, and there used to be a store on the boardwalk that when you walk in, it's every other fucking store on the boardwalk. It's boogie boards and bullshit and souvenirs, and at the back of the store was a record shop, basically. And I remember sending Paul a text message saying on the wall, they had an original pressing of Big Lizard in My Backyard for $95. And Paul responded as cocky as he possibly could, I'm just going to text Rodney Anonymous and get him to give me a copy for free.
Which I did not text him.
No.
And I did not get a copy for free. I mean, ultimately, I wasn't prepared to spend $95.
Right, of course.
I didn't want you to spend $95 on it. But.
So you and I have talked about Dark Side of the Moon, about the MoFi pressings. There's two MoFi pressings of Dark Side of the Moon, right? They typically sell for around $100, give or take. Sometimes you can find them low. Sometimes they're a lot more than that.
Yes.
However, again, doing your homework, there is a not to give somebody else a plug. There's a guy on there's a guy on YouTube that I follow. He's got a record shop in Phoenix. He has $100,000 setup. So he does shootouts of records. So he's got all the copies. He's got the Japanese. He's got the original US. Got the original UK. So he's done Dark Side. He's done thousands of different records. So he'll do Dark Side, he does it, and he goes through the shootout. Now, the pressing that I had of Dark Side for years, it was my first copy that I ever bought. I bought it from Hot Topic. It just happened to be the 30th anniversary pressing, which in his after his shootout video was done, he basically crowned that outside of maybe like the original UK AA stamped, whatever. That as the best sounding pressing.
It's an amazing press.
It really is. I had it. At that time I sold it for a little over $100 because the 2016 repress, which they did pretty much the whole catalog. Yep. They sound great. I got that copy from you.
I think is what I have down here. I have 4 copies in stock.
It sounds amazing.
OttsvilleRecordGarage.com.
If you are thinking about buying Dark Side of the Moon, buy that pressing. It is as good as anything you'll hear on your record player. Yeah. So anyway, that said, but by the time I sold that 30th anniversary pressing, it had been through every shitty turntable that I had, every shitty needle that I had. So it didn't sound as good, but somebody still paid over $100 for it because of what it was.
It's funny because that you mentioned the MoFi edition. That I was down in Virginia visiting Sean from the Unholy Four, and his girlfriend, and we went to like an antique shop. Me, Katie, and Sean and Emily, and we went to an antique shop, and in the middle of the antique shop, there's one of the guys working there, and he has like a bunch of records that he's going through. And I just happened to look down. I see a MoFi copy of Dark Side of the Moon. I was like, fuck. And I just started, I was like, dude, I got $80 cash on me. I will give it to you right now. Sell it to you? And he just looked at me, he's like, I need to research it. I'm like, dude, $80 cash right now. I'm going to give it to you. Like that. If I had another 20, I'd give you another 20. I was like, but I'll give you the 80. He's like, yeah, no, I won't do it. I'm like,
if you are not a proper record store who already has done your research, cleaned your records, sleeved your records properly, and I pick up a record and offer you or ask you how much, and you go on your computer, I am turning around and I'm walking the fuck out of the store. Because you're going to try to sell me a record that you think is worth what Discogs is telling you. You haven't even looked at it. You haven't played it. You haven't cleaned it. Go fuck yourself.
And that is the thing. So one of the things I want to do here with the Ottsville Record Garage, and I can't do it because of the township, I want to have people come and visit.
Sure.
I am working on doing some like pop-up stuff.
Those are great. Love the pop-up stuff. For the bars at shows and all that kind of stuff.
I'll probably have a yard sale, which I can have.
Awesome.
But I have a bunch of records that are like, that I haven't graded.
Right.
All those records that I haven't graded, if I have people coming here, they're like, yeah, man, they're $1.
Exactly.
They're $1. Because like, and I may legitimately have a $20, $30, $40 record sitting there, but I haven't gotten to it.
Right.
So whatever.
You couldn't possibly price that at $20,
now,
never having laid eyes on it.
Everything back here is priced.
Yeah.
Everything is researched,
cleaned,
it's priced, it's
listened
to, or it's brand new factory sealed.
Yep.
And that's the stuff like, hey, here's what it is. If I haven't priced it, yeah, man, it's $1. Man, it's just fucking, you know what I mean? Or like
because
whatever.
Here's the thing: over the years, these even the like I said, even the Goodwill stores, they see a record that somebody tells them, or maybe they see, hey, if we get a Beatles record in, it's automatically $15 or whatever.
But that kind
insane.
It's insane, but it also kind of makes sense.
But
because,
but again, you could have a very common, the Beatles. Yes. The Beatles, for example, their records were pressed a bazillion times.
Yes.
And so.
But the crazy thing about the Beatles, so the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd are different than Elvis, Elton John,
1,000.
and Billy Joel,
100%.
and not just because of sound, just because like you have like you can have an Elvis, an Elton John, and a Billy Joel, and like you're looking at $3 to $5.
Very common.
$3 to $5, maybe $2, something like that.
If you want to sell it quick, $2.
Exactly. Exactly. Beatles. Who did I say? Beatles, Zeppelin,
Floyd,
and Pink Floyd.
They're 5 to 10 if you're looking.
Looking just to sell it, 5 to 10. But those are also the things.
Get 15 to 20.
Exactly. Those are the things where I will, like, when I'm looking at like used collections. Okay, what can I get? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
what are these albums? And but those are also the first things that I listen to.
Right.
And I do listen to them because if you're going to pay 10, 15, 20 or more for a record,
you should know that it's been listened to.
Exactly. Yep. I want to listen to it.
I told you my story about that Doors record. I ended up giving it to you because I went through this antiques mall up in Croydon, and they had
Yep.
Tons of records.
Yep.
And they were all on plastic sleeves. So I was like, this looks great. I looked through basically every one of those records. Again, there was good stuff in there. There was some Neil stuff that I was going to get. I think On the Beach was one of the records I was going to buy. But on my way out the door, I saw a Doors self-titled. I didn't currently have it in my collection, and it was for like $15. And it wasn't that original. It was, an early, second, third pressing, whatever. And I was like, I looked at it. It was dirty, needed to be cleaned. But I was like, I'll take a flyer on this for $15. It was, and you like I said, you cleaned it up. It was a little skippy, but it was ultimately playable.
It's ultimately a break on through.
Right.
That's the
exactly.
The rest of the album's fine.
The rest of the album plays. It was that first record because of the Dish Warp. Yeah.
And that's the thing. So like that album. When I got it from you, I was like, okay, can I sell this? And you would give me a heads up on it. Of course. And I played it. I'm like,
anything I know, if I'm giving it to you, anything I know is dog shit, I'm going to tell you up front. Like, this is,
And I listened to it. I'm like, yeah, it's skippy. The rest of the album's fine. Guess what? It's in my collection.
Right, it's in your collection.
Do you know what I mean?
You want to listen to that, you put it on.
But at any rate, so back to it. As we talked about records a little bit, this is what we're here to do. Talk about vinyl and selling, and also to advertise the Ottsville Record Garage, where you can tell that I care. I care. I listen to this. I don't want to sell you shit. Yep. It does matter. It takes a long time for me to list records because I give a shit about what I'm selling.
That's the way it should be done.
Plain and simple. Yeah. But at any rate, so this copy here, as far as the Discogs value, and now my computer's at 13%, so we gotta speed through this a little bit. All right, so Discogs value. This is a 2015 180 gram 2 LP reissue with the gatefold. So you do not have an original pressing, which you knew. It is a cool packaging. I have talked about that. It's it's like one of those things where you like polish up a turd and and you put it out there.
You put the lipstick on the pig.
No, this is not as bad as Steel Bullet or what was Steel Train, whatever. They were fucking
Bullet was the first, was track one, side one.
Thank you. Yes, I've been drinking. So, but at any rate, no, this is it's a cool package. You got your little inserts and whatnot. This one hasn't been water damaged too much, which is nice.
As I was like before, I was like, oh, this one may have survived it. As I was looking at it a second ago,
the cover's got a little waviness
on the inside. Yeah, there's some waviness, and on the inside, there's a little bit of there's some spots.
Quickly, I don't give a shit. Like if it's clean and it's great, listen, I could give less of a shit about it.
Overall, too. Yes, I agree with you.
Look at how badly that one is, and tell me if you still give a shit.
If this record is clean and plays well, I would happily have it. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't bother me that much.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
As long as I have the cover.
And even Discogs, if anybody has not sold records on Discogs, when you put in your grade of the vinyl, it sets you your MSRP of the vinyl. When you put in the cover, it does not change the MSRP.
Nope.
No. So even on Discog standards, which I think are really good standards, the cover doesn't matter to the value of the record because they want to value the record as far as they're concerned. However, as a reseller, the customer cares about the cover and the record. I personally could fucking care less about the cover too.
Right.
I don't sell stuff with generic covers because I've found that like when I've tried to do that, it just doesn't move. People want at least a cover, like a sub sort of original cover.
I mean, if there's some old shit that it's like, hey, if I could find a super clean record and replace this because it's kind of
exactly
that would be nice. But
those are the albums that usually end up in my fucking personal collection where it's like, dude, this album's clean, but it's a white generic cover. Okay, cool. Like I'm not gonna sell it. I'm just gonna keep it. But at any rate, so this one wasn't too water damaged. It's pretty nice. It is the 2015 180 gram 2 LP reissue with the gatefold, which I already said. The very good MSRP on this is $63.05.
Oh wow!
I don't know.
And since we round up even for 5 fucking cents, that brings it up to $64.
Yep.
Which brings your running total to $479 based on 9 records, and my running total at $273 based on 6 records, and it gives you a $206 lead.
Just out of curiosity, you said you actually put the actual album on. Did you notice any skips or anything on it?
Nope.
Because it's like I said,
no, it sounds good. It sounds solid.
I mentioned before, my albums, my record collection lives an hour away from me at Paul's house, so I haven't.
No, it's a solid.
Listened to it in them forever.
It's a solid, very good.
He's not fucking playing it. No. So.
Well, I did. I played it earlier.
I would say you playing it was probably like the 5th or 6th time that album's ever been put to needle.
No, it's a solid. Your personal copy is a solid, very good plus. Yep. you would know the play history on it, as you know. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, unless I know the play history, I don't list it for near mint.
Yeah, like I said,
if it's open, but
you playing it today was probably the 5th or 6th time that it's ever been
cool
run through.
So there you go. You're beating me by 206 hours. See, I told you. You're like, oh man, you're gonna beat me on the Discogs value. I told you fucking early on. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fucking beat you, and you're fucking killing
But
me.
again, how many albums ahead of you? I mean, how many?
You're 3 albums ahead of me.
All right.
It's not that much.
No, you can make up. You can make up.
I
some,
could, but I know that I'm not
not
going
going
to.
to.
I'm not going to. But we got to keep. I'm sorry. Wait. I could make it up. I could come from behind and beat your ass because we got to keep people interested. You know,
Don't call it a comeback, guys.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for fucking years.
Exactly.
By the way, I have that for sale.
Where can they buy that at?
Ottsville Record Garage.
OttsvilleRecordGarage.com. Check that out.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think we have said as much as we need to say about this album,
Yeah.
right? So let's see what we're doing next week.
Let's see if I get the first hat trick.
Oh, yeah, that's
would this
true.
be the
That's
first?
true.
Okay.
This would be the first hat trick. It would be. Hopefully it's not. Ooh,
So it is
fucking drop 'em
customary.
again. It is customary.
Since you are a guest,
Okay.
that you
Choose.
are picking next week's album.
Yes.
All right. Happy to do so.
Box
Drum
of
roll,
Michael.
please.
Here we go.
All right.
We'll take
We
the
have
envelope. This is
one
number
envelope.
25. This is you got your
Oscar
first hat
goes
trick.
to-
I fucking know you have a hat trick.
Is it a hat
I
trick?
think it's a hat trick. It's a hat trick. We're going to
Bam.
find out 1 second. Number 25 is a blue card. It is a hat trick. Ah, my God. Why do we keep getting these fucking horrible albums?
What do you got?
I don't even know what it is. I'm just sure it's bad. Manchester Orchestra, like
a virgin
losing a child. So that is
Right there.
Manchester. There it is. Okay, so this will not be a special guest one. This is funny. This is actually one of the few albums we have left that is not a special guest.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah. So that is next week. This is another one of those albums where honestly I can't tell you anything about it because I know nothing about this album. I know nothing about this band. So I'm going into this completely fresh, completely like what was the other? See, this is where it makes me feel like kind of like fuck. This is going to suck because the last album we went into where I was completely like I don't know anything about this was that fucking piece of shit Steel Train.
Yeah.
So I'm not feeling good about this.
This is one of those albums where it could, like I said with Deja and Entendu, it could go either of two ways. It's gonna go the one way.
It's gonna go the one way. Okay, well at least I.
But there's
know
a
that ahead
slim
of time.
chance that it could go the other way. But this is a good one.
That's if you say so. I mean, you also
This
thought this album.
I say
was
this
good
is a good one to me. so let's
You also thought this one was good as well as the Steel Train was good. And but yes, this is our first hat trick. Adam has 3 albums in a row. He's going to increase his lead. Now, here's the good thing about this is that the more albums you increase on these early episodes, the more I get at the back.
Yeah.
Yes. Heading into sweeps. I will
Coming
be
down
all
the
my
stretch.
albums coming down the stretch. It'll be my
I
albums.
say I was good off the gate, but you might not have a good acceleration, but you're goddamn it, you got that finishing speed.
Slow and steady wins the race. You know, you sprint out too fast and everybody just fucking passes you. So that's where we are. Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
I
This
am
was great.
very, very happy to be here. This was awesome.
Thank
Love
you for
to do it
bringing
again.
records for me. I got some stuff for you
course.
too. And Adam, anything else?
No, I'm excited. I'm fucking excited that I got the first fucking hat trick, man.
Hat trick, man. You know, what'll be funny is
it makes me even happier because I thought I had it before, but completely
you
forgot.
didn't. You forgot about
completely
specials.
forgot to record a special.
well, here's what's funny. So did our audience.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
There you go.
What do we say, man? There's people who either love ska or they hate ska, and apparently all of our viewers are hate ska motherfuckers.
There you go. All right. Well, on that note, I have to pee again. So
I have to smoke.
Yes, he's got to smoke, and it is time to.
Mama!